Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
At this time, I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting for October the 7th to order. I apologize for being about 3 minutes late. Unexcusable, I grew up in a railroad family, moving here when I was 2 weeks old, and my father always left home about 40 minutes before he had to go to work, and I never really understood it because he worked 15 minutes away. I asked him several times as a youth, "Dad, why you leave so early?" He said, "What you gonna do if you have a flat tire going to work?" I said, "Okay." He said, "The railroad train don't wait for anybody." So I need to practice what my father taught me and leave a little bit early, and I do apologize for that. It is customary for us to begin our meetings with a prayer by a sitting commissioner, and during this time, we ask you to stand and join us in that prayer, or use the time for your own prayer or a moment of silence for whatever you have on your heart this morning. And then we do a pledge of allegiance to the flag, and Commissioner Outlaw will lead us in that. And at this time, I'll call on Commissioner Sue Leggett for the invitation. Good morning, ma'am. Stand.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we give you thanks for this beautiful day that you have created and the opportunity to serve in your kingdom. We ask for your presence and guidance today as we conduct the business of Nash County. May the things that we do and say be pleasing to you and be for the betterment of Nash County. We pray for the citizens of Nash County and blessings upon them, and especially pray for healing and strength for those people and families recently affected by the weather and the hurricanes. Lord, we know that there are wounds and situations that only you can heal, but we know that you are in total control. These things we ask in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Would you join us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioners. At this time, we are now on item number 4, which is approval of the minutes for the meetings that were held in September. During the month of September, we had one meeting, our first meeting of the month, September the 9th, and then we had a second meeting in September, which was held on September the 23rd. At this time, I'd entertain a motion for any corrections, any additions, or approval of the minutes as written.
Move for approval.
I have a motion for approval by Commissioner Outlaw, a second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the minutes or the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Minutes hereby stand approved. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for the great work you and your team do. The next item on the agenda is our item 5, which we have the first meeting of each month. It is a public comment area in which any citizen in Nash County that has an item they'd like to bring before the Board of Commissioners are welcome to come up and present that item. If that item happens to be on the agenda later as a rezoning or anything else that's on the agenda, we'd ask for you to wait till that item comes up on the agenda to address the board. But anything else you may have, there is a sign-up period out front before the meeting starts and goes until the meeting starts. I had 2 people to sign up this morning, and after those speak, we're pretty general up to this point with our speaking in public session. I'll see if there's anyone else that didn't realize they had to speak, had to sign up, I'm sorry. But at this time, the first person that signed up was a Mr. Bronson Williams, and I'll ask Mr. Williams to come to the podium and state his name and address for the record. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. Bronson Williams, 1230 Cokie Road, Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I will say that my comment today is about policy. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay to the duration of the meeting. And that is in reference to public comments and the potential vote today that will update or modify the county's existing policy. The concern I have is with item number 8 in that policy that will limit an individual to be able to speak no more than twice in a quarter. when I look at North Carolina general statutes and what authority it gives the counties and/or cities in our state to do, it does not abridge or limit the opportunity for a person to appear before this governing body or any governing body as what the policy is stipulating. While you may be able to designate an individual based on a similar or like-minded topic, it would not preclude an individual from being able to stand before this body to address grievances amongst its government. I think one of the greatest things in this country called America is that we have an opportunity to bear grievance against our government, and also signs of appreciation as well, because I do appreciate this commission, for one, being able to, and the clerk's office, as you just mentioned, for being able to timely get minutes available for your approval. Other municipalities in the same county don't do the same thing, so we do understand that as well. So very thankful of the astuteness that this body has. But I would ask that you be mindful, even I look at UNC School of Government, and one of the things that they talk about in their policy manual or guides to citizens and or anybody, it says that governing bodies must be careful when regulating conduct to avoid restricting speakers based on their opinion or points of views they are expressing. Got to be careful about that, because again, we are a nation of freedoms. We are a nation of varied opinions, and that's what makes things great. Is say, let us come together and be reasonable with individuals. So, and again, that is one concern I have out of all 8 items. I think it's very small but major at the same time, that we do allow people to speak as often as they can and not just twice. And 1 month you say, what's the difference? It could be a major difference. It may be that person's last month on this earth, and they'll be able to get the opportunity to express themselves. Somebody said that's extreme, but it is a reality. So I would hope you will make that in consideration, and I'll be watching online, because I do thank you for being able to have the public meeting available online as well, to make it accessible for citizens. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Appreciate you being here this morning. The other speaker that had signed up says the topic is zoning. Richardson, is that an item that's on the agenda? It is. So you okay to wait till that item comes up? Okay, great. Appreciate that. Is anyone else that didn't realize they needed to sign up that wishes to bring an item not on the agenda to the board at this time? Seeing no movement, we'll close the public comment section, and we'll move to item number 6, which is a public hearing for use of economic development funds. And I'll call on Andy Hagee at this time to make this presentation to the board. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. As the chairman noticed, this is a public hearing for the use of economic development funds pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 158-7.1. Please be advised that the Nash County Board of Commissioners will conduct a public hearing at 9 a.m. or soon afterwards, as it may be heard on Monday, October the 7th, 2024, at the Nash County Administration Building located at 120 West Washington Street, Nashville, North Carolina. The purpose of the hearing is to receive public input on the proposed allocation of funds for the construction of a 50,000 square foot shell building to be located at the Middlesex Corporate Center. The total construction expenditures are not to exceed $2,250,000. The intent of the project is to enhance the county's tax base, future job creation, and economic development growth. This notice and contemplated public hearing will comply with the requirements of NC General Statute 158-7.1. Board of Commissioners intend to approve the resolution authorizing the allocation of the funds. Recommendation, of course, is to hold a public hearing and approve the use of the economic development funds.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Hagee while he's at the podium for commission member? Thank you, sir.
This is the third shell building, just pointed out.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Third shell building in Middlesex Park. Gotcha. All right, entertain a motion at this time to call for a public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs. There a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a public hearing to hear any comments the public may have about this economic development fund that the Board of Commissioners is seeking permission to spend at this time. As it was said, it was for a third shell building in the Whitaker's Industrial Park.
Middlesex.
Excuse me. Whitaker's, Middlesex, long way apart. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Middlesex Industrial Park. And If there's anyone here to wish to speak, please come forward at this time. Seeing no one rising, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Public hearing is now closed. Any other discussion from the board on this item?
Chairman,
Please go ahead,
should
Commissioner
we
Lee.
clarify just for the public where the building should be located and where we're looking at?
I'll be glad to have you do that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, this building that we are proposing to build is going to be at the corner of 264 and Middlesex Corporate Center. So it'll be on a corner lot and should be a very attractive building that should be attractive to industries looking to locate here.
And as Ms. Legg alludes to, we have done, this was our third one, and we've been very successful with the first two, have those occupied with industries that have put a lot of money in what they spent on the buildings as well as the equipment, and of course, have put quite a number of people to work. Any other comments from commissioners? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion to approve the allocation of economic development funds for this subject.
Make a motion, we approve the development, economic use of this funds.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs. There's a second to that motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hagee, for you and your staff and what they do in economic development for Nash County. Look forward to seeing more great things in the future. Item number 7 is the public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 240901 Westmount Dollar General. And I'll call on our planning director, Adam Tyson, at this time to make this request. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This, as the chairman said, is a conditional rezoning request. The subject property is outlined in red on the screen. You have an aerial photo on the left side and a zoning map on the right side. This is a 1.64 acre lot to be subdivided from a larger undeveloped tract of land currently owned by the John C. Barnes Irrevocable Trust. It's located on the south side of Westmount Drive between the Westmount Rueting Club to the west over here and a single-family residence to the east at 8395 Westmount Drive. As you can see on the zoning map, in the division between the light green and the dark green, the subject property is currently split between two zoning districts, R20 in the front and R30, the darker green, residential in the back. This rezoning request has been submitted to rezone this property to GCCZ, General Commercial Conditional Zone, specifically for the development of a general merchandise retail store to be owned and operated by the Dollar General Corporation. Because this is a conditional rezoning, there is the opportunity to attach reasonable site-specific conditions with the consent of the applicant. This is the proposed site plan that's been submitted by the Timmons Group on behalf of Dollar General. It depicts a one-story, 10,640 square foot commercial building. It will have driveway access directly from Westmount Drive. There'll be 54 paved parking spaces in front of and along the side of the new building. It'll have a dumpster enclosure and on the rear of the lot, a stormwater pond. The proposed store would be served by a connection to the Rocky Mount Public Water System, which is already available along Westmount Drive. It will also have an off-site septic system to be located on a different portion of this same larger tract from which this lot will be subdivided. And you will see that there is a utility easement leading from the lot over onto the remainder tract to connect that off-site septic system to the Dollar General facility itself. If we flip to the landscaping and screening plan, this plan proposes a vegetative roadside buffer of trees and shrubs along the front of the property with, of course, the exception of the driveway. It will be planted and maintained adjacent to the road right-of-way there. Visual screening is also required between the commercial land use and all the adjoining residentially zoned properties, so that would be to either side and the rear. The developer has proposed the installation of planted vegetative screening, again, a mixture of trees and shrubs along both sides and the rear, to be accompanied by a minimum 5-foot-tall white vinyl privacy fence, with an exception of a gap that is needed in the rear of the property along one section to accommodate the outfall and spillway for the stormwater management pond that is located in the extreme rear. So there is a break in the vegetative screening and the fencing in the back for that spillway. As a condition of the proposed rezoning, the developer has proposed that the minimum screening buffer width, which is usually 15 feet when you combine a privacy fence with vegetative screening, that be reduced to 10 feet in some locations, specifically along the eastern side. They're dealing with some topography issues related to an existing ditch that will run adjacent to this right-hand or eastern property line. And so in this corner where it approaches the parking lot, they would need to reduce that screening buffer width from 15 feet down to 10 feet for a small stretch of that area. When we consult our comprehensive land use plan, which we're required to do by state law, it identifies this area as the green residential agricultural area. It is consistent with the recommendations of the plan for establishing a limited commercial land use in this area because, number one, the subject property has frontage and direct access to Westmount Drive, a state-maintained secondary road. The subject property is located less than a quarter of a mile from the intersection of Westmount Drive and South Halifax Road over here on the left side of the map. And as is denoted by this large red circle, that intersection is designated as a rural commercial area by the plan where limited commercial land uses intended to serve a customer base of the surrounding residential population are to be encouraged. And of course, a Dollar General is designed to serve a customer base of the surrounding residential population. The subject property is located in close proximity to other already existing non-residential or commercial land uses. As I already mentioned, it's immediately adjacent to the Westmount Rueting Club here to the west. Beside that, there is an existing commercial warehouse. On the corner, you have the Ramos Pizza and Grill restaurant. And then across the street on this corner, you have an existing gas station and convenience store. The proposed site plan allows for approximately 100 feet of spatial separation as well as visual screening between the commercial lot and the most immediately adjacent home at 8395 Westmount Drive. This would be to the east. That's the closest home to that property on that side of the road. And the commercial development of the property will be limited to a context-appropriate scale because this is a conditional rezoning that will specify use and a particular site plan. If we return back to the zoning map on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see that this may be considered reasonable in the public interest and not spot zoning because, number one, the proposed retail store is intended to serve and support the local residents of the area, which I already mentioned. And number two, the subject property is separated from this red, already established general commercial zoning district at the intersection only by the immediately adjacent property, which is the non-residential Westmount Rueting Club. The TRC considered this rezoning request back on August 29th and recommended approval subject to a list of development conditions. The Nash County Planning Board held a public meeting on this request on September 16th. There were 3 individuals listed in your agenda packet who addressed the board at that time in support of the request. Those included the current property owner and applicant, as well as the site designer from the Timmons Group. They discussed the potential benefits of the rezoning, including the convenience for the surrounding residents and additional employment activities, as well as increased economic activity in the community and growth for the local tax base. There were 4 individuals who are listed in your agenda report that addressed the board in opposition to the request. They submitted a community petition against the request with 31 signatures and expressed concerns regarding increased traffic, crime, and exterior lighting, as well as a potential negative impact on the current character of the community. With a split vote of 6-1, the planning board voted to recommend approval of the request, subject to the development conditions that were recommended by the TRC. The board's report includes suggested motions for approval or denial of the request. Both motions contain statements of plan consistency and reasonableness. If you will turn to page 9 in your agenda packet, I do want to review the proposed development conditions for the rezoning, should it be approved. Number 1, the subject property should be developed for a general merchandise retail store and in accordance with the approved site plan that we just reviewed. Number 2, some additional information that we have since the planning board meeting is at the request of the property owner, the Dollar General Corporation has agreed to make this a market format store, which means that in addition to the typical general merchandise that all Dollar Generals offer, this particular store will offer expanded produce selections, refrigerated and frozen food offerings, dairy products, and fresh meats. And so that is a more robust food offering for this particular format of store than you would find in a standard Dollar General. Number 3, the planted vegetative buffers and screening fence that are depicted on the site plan shall be installed, maintained, repaired, replaced, and or supplemented as necessary in order to effectively screen the commercial land use and to preserve a generally well-kept appearance of the site. Number 4, the screening fence surrounding the facility should be constructed of white vinyl. Number 5, the width of the buffer yards required to the side and rear lot lines of the subject property may be reduced to a minimum of 10 feet where necessary per the approved site plan. And again, that is a area down here where the property line and the parking area converges toward the rear of the site. Number 6, all exterior lighting sources shall be shielded as necessary in order to avoid casting direct light upon adjacent properties. Number 7 is a list of the other permits and approvals that would be required for this site ahead of construction. Number 8, significant or substantial modifications or revisions to this approved site plan might require additional review by the TRC, the planning board, and even this board if they are substantial, is substantially different than what we're looking at this morning. And number 9, as always, the conditional zoning map amendment would remain invalid unless and until the petitioners consent in writing to the list of development conditions following a vote to approve. With that, I will pause and take any board questions prior to opening the public hearing on this request.
Any question for board members? Commissioner Leggett?
Mr. Tyson, thank you for the presentation. I do have a couple of questions. One of them relates to the off-site septic system. I understand that's a pretty wet-natured area. I travel that area a lot. Can you explain that a little bit, maybe the size and location of where that system is slated to be?
Sure. I think that the applicant will have to go into more detail. I don't think they've applied for a septic permit yet, wanting to get the zoning in place. It is my understanding that it will be on a portion of the larger subject property from which this is being subdivided. And based on where this utility easement goes, it would be back behind the residential home that's to the east here. But perhaps the applicant can enlighten us a little further on that plan when he comes up during the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question is development condition number 3 about the screening, the vegetative buffers and the fence. How is that buffer maintenance enforced? Or how will it be enforced?
So for instance, if a portion of the buffer, the plants consistent of that buffer were to die and the owner did not immediately replace that, if the planning department were to receive a complaint of that, we could use development condition number 3 to issue a notice of violation because this essentially what the board is creating is a unique zoning district just for this Dollar General. And these development conditions become standards of the ordinance that only apply on this property. So just like any other zoning violation, the county would have the right to use its full regular zoning violation enforcement procedure to require the owner to repair or replace or replant any part of that buffer that is no longer meeting the requirement to provide effective screening of the site.
Thank you.
Other commissioners with questions?
Yes.
Mr. Belfield?
Did I understand you to say the traffic lane would be reduced to 10 feet?
Not the traffic lane. What we're talking about, the reduction, when you have a side of the property that has planted vegetation like trees and shrubs, as well as a 5-foot or higher privacy fence, you have a 15-foot standard buffer between the property line and any development. Back here where the parking lot, the parking spaces get close to the property line because of an existing ditch, they're asking for a slight reduction in that area right there from 15 feet to 10 feet. But it will not have any impact on the traffic on Westmount Drive or the traffic pulling in or out to the driveway because it's not in the forward vicinity of the property.
Mr. Wilkins?
Mr. Tyson, do you have a copy of that petition that was signed? You said by 31 people?
I do have a copy in my case file. And I
Okay.
can put that on the document camera or pass it up, however you'd like to.
I would just like to review it while we're
Okay.
in public hearing. We've received it before, and so, I mean, when there was a petition, I believe, so.
I have an updated copy of it with about 50 signatures.
Any other questions from commissioners while we wait for that item? Go ahead, Commissioner Harris. I thought you said you were waiting on that list.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Just one question. The rural commercial area, the radius, what's the normal radius? You know, you have it circled in red.
Sure. On the land use plan, I'm not sure what that radius is, but it's kind of an arbitrary distance. There's no necessarily science in the distance from the center of the intersection out here. This is meant more as a general signifier that this is an intersection where the county wants to encourage commercial development. So I would not read too much into the specific radius of the circle. And my point was that even though this property doesn't fall into the circle, the only thing dividing it from the circle is the Rueting Club, which is already a non-residential land use. But there's no specific science or significance as far as the specific radius of the circle, other than marking this as a commercial intersection.
Okay. Well, you know, we have this condition throughout the county with crossroads. So I'm not sure whether we might need to revisit that and see just how far of a radius that should be, because
Sure.
once you start extending the radius, we're getting the residential area.
So a different recommendation of the plan recommends that a commercial site be within a quarter mile of an intersection like this. And this property, even though this circle is not necessarily a quarter mile, this property is less than a quarter mile from that intersection. So the plan is not without some guidance as far as how far we should extend out from the intersection. And this particular property falls within that distance.
All right.
Wilkins, you ready for me to keep moving?
fine.
Okay. All right, other questions of Mr. Tyson this time? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd call for a motion to go into public hearing on this rezoning matter.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ayrton. Questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear any comments for or against this rezoning CZ 240901. And at this time, anyone that wishes to speak, you'd come forward and state your name and address for the record. We'd be glad to hear from you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Chris Cox, 104 Twin Oaks Place in Goldsboro, North Carolina. I am here representing Glendon Forest Equity, the developer of the project. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions that you may have that you hadn't already heard from Mr. Tyson. So I have some associates here as well, the engineer, and also the construction manager, which will be speaking as well.
Okay, all right.
We do respectfully request that you approve the project. We spent several months, as you can imagine, on due diligence so far. And I like working with Nash County. I work with a lot of counties throughout East North Carolina, and these guys are great. Just give me.
We are blessed in that respect.
Yes.
Thanks for saying that.
So, yeah, any questions you may have? I do want to confirm that after listening to some of the requests from the community, we did get approval from Dollar General to do the market store, which is a considerable change. It's a much nicer store. They do more refrigeration and fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, that kind of thing. So, yeah, if you have any questions, I'm here to answer if I can. If I can't, these guys hopefully can.
This is the owner's representative, and he has a team with him, as he said, but any questions in general about the project? Commissioner Outlaw?
Yes. The market store format, I happened to be going to Smithfield over the weekend, and I had the opportunity to visit a market store in Selma. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Yes, sir,
But,
we are.
We've got a Dollar General at Sandy Cross and on
Right.
Highway 97. Are either of those market stores?
They are not.
Can you explain for the benefit of this board and the public?
Sure.
What a market store really is? It's quite an amazing store if you've never been in one.
Mr. Peden can answer those questions a
Okay.
lot better than I, so if you just want to let him come up and, if there's any more though before I sit down.
That's it.
Any other general questions, Commissioner Leggett?
My question I had asked before you came up was to explain the off-site septic system.
I can tell you a little bit about that. That easement that you do see on that other property line there, Mr. Barnes, you are correct. There was nowhere on that site that would support septic, so we had to go off-site to be able to get that area to do so. So that area behind that residential lot there, there's a nice dry hill, pretty big hill over there, and that's where the septic system will be located. And Jason can point that out better as well.
Okay, that'd be fine. It's not really clear, kind of the area on our map
Okay.
where that would be. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Next speaker? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Chairman Davis, rest of the board, appreciate you guys having us here this morning. My name's Jason Mazzell with Timmons Group out of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Address a couple of quick items. As far as the septic system, there's a very similar situation with the Rueting Club as well. And the current property owner has a septic easement on to the northwest, to the southwest of this site that accommodates the septic system for that facility as well. So for whatever reason, this area right near the highway doesn't seem to have the proper soils to be able to have the septic fields on site. So this is a very similar situation to what we've got next door. In addition to that, Adam hit a lot of the points I was going to make, but I'll reiterate. The conditions within the plan for landscaping, for fencing, for light restrictions, these are all enforceable items by your county staff. I say code enforcement is a big thing. We do some of these in some areas that don't have zoning, and so they don't have that ability to do that, but you guys do. And so that's going to be your assurity of making sure these things are maintained as presented. Beyond that, I'm more than happy to answer any technical questions about the site. We have applied to DEQ for our permits with them. We actually had conversations with DOT well early on to ensure that there were no improvements that they were going to require, and that permit's been submitted for. The on-site wastewater system, I know that their soil scientist has looked at all that and has made his recommendations, but is waiting to submit that application to the county pending this approval. Short of that, I'll answer anything you guys have.
Questions of Jason at this time? Wayne, where are we at as far as, I see we're using public water, where does that process currently stand?
What, I don't understand your question.
Okay, that they're chosen tied onto the city of Rocky Mount water line.
It's my understanding all the business in that commercial area is tied on the city water
Okay, so,
already.
Already
And
tied.
also, Adam mentioned the businesses in that commercial zone. There's also two more, Ashley's Plumbing, which is across from Ramos on Halifax Road, and then going west on Westmount Drive for a short distance, you've got a landscaping business there. So it's a pretty commercialized area already.
right, what my real question is, and I'll ask the gentleman, you've applied for these taps with the city of Rocky Mountain, and that's in progress?
That will be applied for once the plan's approved.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
I did want to point out that if you look at this part here, up to the east side of the driveway, the utility easement that we're talking about follows the front property line, and then it comes down to hug the side of this residential lot that's beside the proposed Dollar General and goes back to this dry hillish area back behind that property. So is that correct?
That is
That's generally where that septic
That
system
is
is going
correct.
to be?
If you want to go back to one of your aerial views, I'd like to point it out specifically. Yeah, that's good up there. So.
Like right in there?
Yep, right there.
Okay.
Like I said, all that will be is just the septic field, so it won't look any different than anybody else's septic field as far as when it's installed, it'll be grassed over and seeded and stabilized.
So the tank itself will be on the subject
Tanks,
property?
yeah, there'll be a septic and a pump tank on the subject property that will pump through a force main over to that location, to a D-box that will distribute that to a normal, conventional septic system.
So that force main pipe will be what falls within that utility
That is
easement that
correct.
hugs these property lines
That is
until you get back here to the
Yes.
location of the septic?
Yep. Thanks, Al.
Other questions? Thank you, sir.
Who's going to address your question about the market store?
That will be
The next gentleman.
Yeah,
Thank
Mr.
you.
James Peden will come
Appreciate
up
it.
and speak to
Thank you.
that, so, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Beth Carlton. I live at 4948 Davis Road, and I'm opposed to this. I'm a retired law enforcement officer for Rocky Mount. I've been there 27 years, and I retired a couple years ago. I have a lot of opportunity of doing a lot of larceny reports. There's drug activities. They break in, and the one on 97, I don't know how many times it's been broken into and it's been robbed. People have been robbed there. So you have on 97, you were saying that you had a Dollar General. You also got a Dollar Tree. Sandy Cross, you got another Dollar General. If you want vegetables and frozen foods, go to the food line. It's right there at 97 in Halifax. I'm so sick of seeing a Dollar General, a Dollar Tree, all around in our suburbs. This is a little country area. You mentioned Allen's Nursery. It's a nursery. It's not developed. It sells flowers and vegetables that support our community. You mentioned the plumbing place. The plumbing place used to be ambulance, for the ambulance. They don't have a lot of business there. You're not going to need a big septic. You talked about the Realty Club. They hardly are ever there. They sell, they do a lot of fundraisers, and they use their realty club for rentals. So you don't need a big septic tank. It's not going to mess up a septic. This big building will. It's going to be an eyesore in our community. We already have a Dollar General and a Dollar Tree 2 miles down the road. You have a big old food line. You're putting in a gas station across from the food line that's going to support us as well. We want this, we have a housing problem. It's already in a residential area. Build a house. We don't need any more economic building, another Dollar General out there in that area. The traffic on 97 is terrible about 4:30, 5 o'clock because of the Dollar Tree and the Dollar General. You're trying to get in and out, and you got all the traffic that's coming in. People going home from work from the city. It's developing out there, yes, but you already have $2 stores out there. So I would decline, I hope we decline this and put it someplace else because we don't need it. We already have $2 stores there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Janice, did you get her name and address okay?
I can listen back and get it.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. I'm Jacob Sandy. I live at 8372 West Mount Drive, the property directly across from where they want to build this Dollar General at. And basically me and the West Mount community want to oppose this. I have a petition with, I have up to, I think I have 48 signatures right now. And these are all people that live on West Mount, so it is everybody in the community. And we don't want it, we don't want to look at it. West Mount's busy enough as it is, you know, especially between 3 and 6 o'clock, it's a mess. You know, and having other people turning in and out, it's just gonna make it more clustered up. And basically like what she said, there's a Dollar General a mile and a half away down the road, 2 minutes away. You got food line, all the fresh produce and everything you need. There's no sense in it, and we don't want it. We don't want to look at it. I don't want lights from the parking lot shining into my yard, headlights of cars pulling out, shining into my windows. We're just not interested in having it. And you're welcome to see the updated petition if you'd like to look at it.
I'm going to ask you, when you sit down, just leave it with the clerk when you finish.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. But yeah, we just want to keep it a rural area. We don't want to see it commercialized, businesses popping up. You know, first thing is that, then there's this, then there's that. We don't want to see that happening, and we want to keep it kind of residential area.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Come forward at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm James Peden with, represent the developer Glen and Forest Equity, construction manager, and I can answer, or give you a little description about the market store. As they said, it does have more fruits and vegetables. Signage is a little bit different. They also, you'll see as you go in the store, you probably had seen at that store in Selma, kind of as you come in the front entrance, it does have some recessed track lighting, kind of highlighting some beauty sections, which you won't see in the typical Dollar General store. You know, and I can attest as far as the lighting and all, that they are full cut-off building fixture lights. Lights that we use, so they are full cut-off. You will not be able to see them, you know, from across the street. So they typically, I have not seen on this site plan showing any parking lot poles, so I just see the building lights. So the broadcast of that shadow is going to probably take it out to the middle way of the aisle. You will be able to still see for the outer edge parking, but that lighting will go from the building to probably about middle way of the drive aisles in the front and the side that I've been out there and visited at night. So I'll answer any questions.
Good questions of James at this time? Explain that, get your answer, okay? Mm-hmm. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Next speaker, if someone wishes to speak for or against this item? Seeing no movement, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Arrington, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Any other questions come up for staff at this time from a board member or Commissioner Belfield?
He passed a petition of names to our clerk.
Yes, sir.
How many names on that?
I think you stated 48, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not numbered, but I can count them.
Or
I think
just?
Ms. Sandy, you said 48, did you
48.
not?
You said 40?
48.
48, okay.
How many did you say, Mr. Sandy?
I said 48.
Okay, 48. That good enough, Mr. Bill?
Just people on Weston, I didn't venture out.
Right, understand. Thank you. Other questions of staff at this time? Thank you, sir. Pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Mr. Outlaw, Commissioner Outlaw, excuse me, sir.
I have been a resident of the Westmount community for 48 years. I can see this location from my backyard. The developer has agreed to every condition that was requested of them. They want to put a DG Market store in a commercial zone. Now, you may not like the clientele that come to the DG stores. You may not like the clientele that comes to the Food Line stores. I don't know. I frequent the stores on 97, and if this store is approved, I will frequent this store. I said all that to say that I think it will be a good addition to the community. I promise you that if that place is not maintained, that I will be the first one to contact the planning department and ensure enforcement of those stipulations. And no matter if I'm on this board or off of this board, I'm going to always do that for my community. I'm a member of that Westmount Rueting Club. We rent that building every weekend, virtually every weekend, and we have hundreds of people that utilize that building. So I know that what they're doing from a septic system will most likely work. We just approved a septic system for Ramos with an easement-type system that is working very nicely. If not for that approval, that business would be out of business. So with all that said, I'm asking my fellow commissioners to support the motion that I'm getting ready to make to approve this rezoning request. I move that the Nash County Board of Commissioners adopt the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness below as listed in our agenda and approve the rezoning request with the following development conditions as Adam stated in the agenda.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on the motion?
Discussion.
Questions on the motion?
No. Okay.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say my purpose in looking at the petition was not so much to count signatures, but to count households. And when I counted the households, I'm going to say maybe roughly on that first set of petitions I received, maybe 15, if you count the households. I don't know if they're the same households as Mr. Sandy that he submitted, or if some of those are duplicate. When I say duplicate, 2 to 3 people in the same household signed with the same address, not to minimize their concern, but I look at that, and I look, as Commissioner Outlaw said, the developer has met all the stipulations. It's in line with the zoning ordinance, and so I'm done.
Thank you, ma'am. Other comments or questions?
Well, she brought up an interesting point, households.
Yes, sir.
And different addresses.
Thank you. Any more questions before?
I would just further indicate,
Yes, sir.
again, I've been in that community for 48 years. I love that community. I've given my heart and soul to the development of that community through that Rueting Club. I have been contacted by 2 people in this whole process. One of those before I attended the planning board meeting, and I attend planning board meetings when there's something of relevance to my district. I always attend because I want to hear from the people. I heard from one person prior to that planning board meeting, and that was Jacob Sandy. Since that planning board meeting, I have heard from one person, and that was Jacob's dad, I believe, Chris. And I think Chris lives over in Netherwood, which is in the city of Rocky Mount, a good distance away. But I listen to the people, I respond to the people when I think it's reasonable. But, you know, things are just going to change. And if you look up the road just a very short distance, not long ago, the city of Rocky Mount, through satellite annexation, approved the rezoning of a 70-acre tract. So I think this is a reasonable request to bring a business to the community. Again, I just ask for the support of this board to approve it.
There are no other comments or questions. I'm going to call for the vote. Or any questions on the motion itself? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign?
Opposed?
Motion carries on a 6-1 vote. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, which is another public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 240902 Baker Property Subdivision.
This is a residential rezoning. The subject property is highlighted in red again on the aerial photo and the zoning map on the screens before you. This is an approximately 137.72 acre undeveloped tract of land. It's currently owned by Marguerite F. Baker. It's located, as you can see, on both sides of North NC Highway 58. And it also runs along the north side of Body Mill Pond Road, which is right here. This is located north of the town of Nashville, but south of the town of Castelia. As you can see in the light green color on the zoning map, this property is currently zoned A1 agricultural, and it is immediately adjacent to the properties that are zoned industrial for the Universal Leaf Plant and the Crump's Naturals plant down here off of Body Mill Pond Road. So it is separated by that stream property line there from the industrially zoned property. The property owner has submitted this rezoning request in order to rezone the subject property from A1 to RA30CZ, Single Family Residential Conditional Zone, specifically for the development of a proposed 141-lot residential subdivision on both sides of the highway. Approving this rezoning request would have 3 substantial impacts on the subject property. First, the minimum lot area for each residential lot, which is now 40,000 square feet, would be reduced slightly to 30,000 square feet. And that would, of course, slightly increase the number of residential lots that the property owner would be able to subdivide. Because this is an A1 agricultural zoning district, there are more than 60 different land uses that are currently permitted for development under some circumstances on this subject property that would no longer be permitted for development if the proposed RA30 zoning district were approved. Those 60 land uses include, but are not necessarily limited to, single-wide and double-wide manufactured homes, manufactured home parks, duplexes, event and conference venues, private campgrounds, outdoor shooting ranges, kennels, demolition debris landfills, solar farms, solid waste collection and disposal facilities, mining, explosives manufacturing, and sawmills. And so those are things that potentially, under some circumstances, could be developed there today that no longer could be developed following the rezoning because it would be designated for stick-built or modular home construction. And number three, again, because this is a conditional rezoning, the development of the property would be restricted to the subdivision sketch plan we're about to review, as well as any other reasonable site-specific development conditions that are attached to the approval. If we proceed to that subdivision sketch plan, you can see the 141 lots laid out on both sides of Highway 58, which is right here. Body Mill Pond Road runs here, and the development's on the north side of that road. In addition to those 141 new residential lots, there will be 3 special purpose lots for stormwater management areas, along with 10 new public road rights-of-way. All of these lots would be accessed from the new interior roads, and none would be accessed directly from the state roads, meaning there are no individual driveways along Highway 58 or along Body Mill Pond Road. There are just the two, one entrance off of Highway 58 to the eastern portion right here, and then one entrance off of Body Mill Pond Road to this property down here. Each of these new lots will have to be at least 30,000 square feet in area and have a minimum width of 100 feet to meet the proposed RA 30 dimensional standards. These new lots would be served by a proposed extension of the existing Nash County public water system, which is already available along these roads. And the new lots would be served by a private on-site septic systems, because there is no gravity sewer available in this area of the county. If we consult the future land use map, which is a portion of our 2022 comprehensive land use plan, the plan primarily designates the subject property as a residential agricultural area, with the exception of this back corner because of its proximity to a stream feature here. We're cautioned to be environmentally sensitive about the development in that particular corner, and the developer has planned to meet the required buffers there. The plan recommends a minimum allowable residential lot size of 30,000 square feet throughout the county's residential jurisdiction, and of course that is consistent with the RA 30 district that the applicant is requesting. The plan recommends that rezonings that allow for greater residential density in this area should be limited to RA districts only. And of course, the difference between an R and an RA district is that RA districts prohibit the development of single and double-wide manufactured homes. And this request would prohibit single and double-wide manufactured homes, which are currently permitted there. If we return to the zoning map on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that the request could be considered reasonable and in the public interest and not spot zoning, because the subject property already is and will continue to be zoned for residential use, similar to the adjacent and surrounding properties, with just a minor decrease in the minimum required lot size from 40,000 to 30,000 square feet. And although approval of the request would permit those slightly smaller lots and increased residential density, as we've already discussed, the new zoning district is also much more restrictive in terms of the types of permitted land uses that can be developed there than the current rural A1 agricultural zoning district. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on August 29th and recommended approval, subject to a list of suggested development conditions. The Planning Board held a public hearing on this request on September 16th. There were 5 individuals who are listed in your staff report that addressed the board at that time with questions and concerns. Those regarded water drainage, the availability of cable and internet access for the subdivision, the anticipated development timeline, increased traffic, and the increased demand for emergency services, as well as the potential impact on local property values and agricultural activities. Mr. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering addressed the board at that meeting as well in support of the request, and agreed on behalf of the developer to provide a buffer to screen the subdivision from the view of the immediately adjacent existing home at 4494 North NC Highway 58. And so that existing home is on this adjacent property on the west side of North NC Highway 58, and it would be along the back line of 4 of these individual lots here to provide a vegetative screening and perhaps a berm to block the view of those rear yards from the adjacent home that's already existing right there. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request, subject to a list of development conditions. As always, the board's report includes a motion to approve and a motion to deny the rezoning request. And if you will turn to page 20 in your agenda packet, I do want to review the development conditions that are suggested in the event of an approval. Number one, the subject property should be developed in accordance with the approved sketch plan for this Baker property subdivision. Number two, the subject property may be developed for the land uses that are permitted in the RA 30 zoning district in accordance with the standard requirements and procedures laid out for those uses by our Unified Development Ordinance. Number three, the developer, of course, would have to extend Nash County Public Water System into the interior of the properties to serve all the resulting residential lots. Number four, the developer is likely going to be required by the North Carolina Department of Transportation to construct a northbound right turn deceleration lane in the North NC Highway 58 right-of-way at the subdivision entrance here, where the one entrance off of Highway 58 off the east side. So for traffic approaching from the south going northbound, there would have to be a right turn deceleration lane constructed by the developer in order to secure a driveway permit for that new entrance to the subdivision because of the amount of existing traffic on Highway 58. As previously mentioned, the developer has agreed to provide a screening buffer specifically along the rear property lines of lots 40, 41, 43, and 44. Again, in this corner on the western side of NC 58. That buffer would consist of a combination of an earthen berm and/or planted or preserved existing vegetation to reach a minimum height of 6 feet in order to effectively screen the subdivision from the view of that immediately adjacent home at 4494 North NC 58. Number six, the developer will need to establish a property owners association to own and maintain the special purpose lots for stormwater management. Condition number seven lays out the additional state and local approvals that will be required prior to construction of the subdivision. Number eight, any substantial changes would make this proposal require potentially additional review by the TRC, the planning board, and this board if they were substantial enough. And number nine, this conditional zoning map amendment shall be invalid unless and until the petitioners consent in writing to all the attached development conditions. When we open the public hearing, I do have a statement that I received this morning via email from Mr. Don Harrison. He is one of the owners of the property across Body Mill Pond Road on the south side here. He would like that shared with the board, so I'll be happy to read that during the public hearing, or if there's someone affiliated with the Harrison family here that would like to read it on his behalf, we can certainly do that as well. With that, I'll pause and take any questions that the board has on the staff report.
Questions of staff at this time by a board member?
Mr. Tyson?
Yes.
I may have missed it. Can you circle back and talk about turn lanes and for this neighborhood here?
Sure. So the NCDOT has advised, well, there's first of all, there's two entrances to this subdivision. There's one on the west side of NC 58, and there's one down here on the north side of Body Mill Pond Road. DOT has reviewed the existing traffic and traffic patterns and determined that no improvements are likely required for the driveway permit for the entrance off of Body Mill Pond. But here for the entrance off of Highway 58, they say that most of the traffic here comes from the southern direction. And so for traffic coming from Nashville toward Castalia, they will require the developer to put in a deceleration right-hand turn lane heading toward the entrance of that driveway. And the developer's construction of that will be a condition of the DOT granting the driveway permit for that new connection of that entrance to go into the subdivision.
Another question, just north of this area towards Castalia, there's a Western Hills subdivision area. What zoning designation do those lots have?
We'll have to check that on the GIS website, but I'll have that answer for you in just a minute.
That seems to be the closest.
Residential.
Dense
Sure.
residential area.
Anything else, Commissioner Leggett?
Not right now, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Bellfield?
The 137 acres is proposed for subdivisions, housing. Is any of that property in agricultural production now?
I'm not sure. I think the applicant could tell us that. When we look at the aerial photograph, there is a substantial cleared field on both sides of the road that I anticipate probably was in agricultural production, but as far as whether it's currently actively in production, I think the applicant will be able to tell us that during the public hearing.
It is being farmed right now.
Well,
Okay.
well, I asked that question because it's a big subdivision, and if it's agricultural production right around it, and use of chemicals and spraying, you don't want to get a subdivision built there, and then they start complaining about the use of insecticides,
Right.
pesticides, and all that. And that has happened here in Nash County, even though it's been some years ago.
Right.
Other questions or comments from board members of staff?
So the Western Hills subdivision looks like it is zone A1, like this property currently is. However, I would note that there was a time not so long ago when the minimum lot size in A1 was only 30,000 square feet. So can you identify one of those standard size lots and tell me what the 0.77?
It's less than 20,000.
Yeah, so I think that, I think it has comparable lot sizes to this, not because it has a different zoning, but because about 20 years ago, the minimum lot size in A1 was 30,000, which is what this developer is asking. The A1 lot size has fluctuated. It went from 30,000 to a full acre, and then around 2019, the commissioners brought it back to just 40,000 square feet. But I think even though the Western Hills subdivision is not zoned R30, it has comparable 30,000 square foot lots.
If there's no other comments, I will entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this matter at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Ayrton. Is there a second to that motion?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear from anyone in the public that wishes to speak about CZ 240902, which is a rezoning matter. And at this time, I would ask anyone that wishes to speak for or against to come forward and state your name and address for the record. Good morning.
My name is Inga Jackson. I live at 3447 Body Mill Pond Road. This property has been in my family for close to 30 years, and I was just concerned about basically how many homes will be built directly in front of my house, because I have no neighbors in front of me, and I have no neighbors beside me. So this is what I'm really concerned about, and I'm concerned about the traffic coming in. I know he said that as far as Body Mill Pond Road, that road will not be affected. I just want to know basically how many houses will be built directly in front of me, and will I have a view of those homes from my house?
You've seen the site plan then, I guess, and of course, nothing to be fronting you, but you will be looking at the sides of the lots that these houses are on.
Okay.
And I think what the statement was that DOT, it didn't say it wouldn't be affected, it said there would be no turn lane required because of the number of current traffic counts on Body Mill Pond Road.
Okay. Well,
Correct, Mr. Tyson?
That's correct. And if we can switch to the document camera briefly. You said your address is 3447?
Yes, sir, I'm right here,
All
on
right.
approximately 2 acres.
Gotcha. So, this property right here is where your home is. And so you will have the side yard of two of these lots and the backyard of that lot directly in front of your property. But the actual driveway to enter the subdivision will be off to the east, way down, further off the map there. But you'll be looking at the backyard and side yards of 3 homes opposite you.
And their entrance will be from off of Body Mill Pond Road, or will they be coming in off of 58?
So these people will be coming in off of Body Mill Pond Road down here, which is that distance, you know, to the east of you. So you'll be down here on this property, and the only thing directly in front of you will be those 3 lots.
Just 3
right
lots.
there.
All right, thanks for carrying that in.
Thank you, Mayor. Next speaker for or against this item? Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Rakia Richardson, and I'm going to read for Mr. Don Harrison.
Give us your address if you
It's
would.
4116 North NC 58.
Thank you.
It says, "My name is Don K. Harrison. I am the owner with my daughter of approximately 17 acres of agriculture property west of North Carolina 58 and south of Body Mill Pond Road. Not only am I concerned about the impact that the proposed rezoning of 137 acres of land will have on my property, but also its impact on the community at large. This proposed rezoning is to occur in a community historically known as Snow Hill that has probably been in existence for over 150 years. Having grown up there 91 years ago, I have seen at least 4 things that has changed the character of this community. 1, the old Snow Hill Elementary School, 4731, founded in 2020 and is historically significant, became a private residence, but now it appears to be a junkyard business for wrecked cars and trucks. 2, to the west and back of my other property, which is 4822, Universal Leaf Tobacco Processing Plant is located. 3, a storage facility has been built adjacent to the school and was expanded. And 4, 2 trailer-type manufactured dwellings are in the area where on-site built home existed. If the rezoning would permit other than on-site building on the lots, I would not support any manufactured, mobile, trailer, or modular-type homes. Finally, what protection would be afforded from the possible impact due to soil erosion, increased traffic, noise, and possible problems with utilities?
Thank you.
Now I have my own.
All right.
All right. My name is Rakia Richardson, and I lived in this area for over 50 years. My family has owned and maintained land and property here for over 100. I am here to express my concerns regarding the rezoning of the land on NC Highway 58 and Body Mill Pond. This rezoning will have significant impact on my community, and I have several questions and concerns that I hope the planning board will consider. First, I'm concerned about the noise and disruption during the construction. With such a large development plan, I worry about how long-term residents like myself will be affected by the construction noise, dust, and general disruptions. Would there be restrictions on construction hours to ensure we aren't disturbed early in the morning or late at night? What steps will be taken to minimize the impact on nearby homes during the construction phase, particularly for those of us living close to the development site? Second, I have serious concerns about the traffic and safety. With 141 new homes and only one, well, at the time I thought it was one way in, one way out along 58, which is a busy highway. Personally, I've had 4 accidents where they've ran into my yard, personally. And I feel it's a high risk, and just want to know, has a traffic study been conducted, and are there plans to improve the road to handle this? Will there be any stoplights, turning lanes, or other safety measures to prevent accidents, especially with so much added traffic to this highway? Third, I want to address potential environment impact. There is a reservoir less than a mile from the development site, and I'm concerned about how stormwater runoff from the new homes will be managed. Will protections be in place to prevent contamination or flooding that could harm the reservoir and nearby properties? Has an environment impact assessment been done, and what measures are being taken to safeguard the water quality? Lastly, I'm concerned about the nature of the homes being built, particularly if they're going to be rental or low-income homes. If these homes are turned into rentals, how will the town ensure that they're well-maintained and responsible tenants selected? Concerned about the safety. Any rental low-income homes can sometimes lead to transient population and less community involvement, which can impact the character of our neighborhood. What regulations or oversight would be in place to manage these properties and protect the interests of the current homeowners? I just want to emphasize that long-term residents like myself and families who have been here for generations should hopefully not be unfairly affected by the development, and I hope the town will take our concerns in serious consideration and provide clear answers about the impact on the noise, disruption, traffic, environmental safety, and the long-term character of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Other speakers on this rezoning matter? Morning, Kevin.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering representing the developer. Just to cover a few of the items that were listed by the residents here. One, traffic has obviously been studied and looked at by NCDOT, and they've actually made recommendations, as Adam mentioned, to the turn lanes that will be required by the developer, and those will be installed. Currently, we're requesting for the RA zoning district, which would prohibit the manufactured housing that Mr. Harrison had asked for it not to have. So again, the current zoning that we're asking to approve would prohibit that. As far as stormwater, flooding, and erosion control, those items are handled by NCDEQ and Nash County through a permit and enforcement process. So there are several ponds that are shown on the proposed map that will help mitigate that flooding, the flooding concerns that some of the neighbors have expressed. And obviously, NCDEQ will handle any erosion control during construction. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any further questions you have.
Questions for the engineer for this project?
Mr. Chairman, I have
Commissioner
one.
Wilkins.
Kevin, are these going to be rental homes? And if not, what would be the price range of them? Do you know that?
So I don't know that I can speak to really either of those. They will ultimately be stick-built homes. And so right now, the average home price is running around $200,000. So if we assume that the smallest house they would be able to be 1,500 square feet, you're looking somewhere of a minimum of $300,000 up to $400,000 would be typical for what these developers have done in the past. Rentals are something that if you purchase the property, they're certainly not intended to be rentals by the developer or a corporate owner. But ultimately, if you purchased the property and wanted to rent it out later, there would really be nothing that would prohibit you from doing that.
Yeah, well, my concern was the developer building them specifically for rental?
No, ma'am, they will not be corporate rentals.
Okay, thank
you. Mr. Levy?
Has this same developer group developed other properties in the county?
In this county, I'm thinking not yet. They have several other ones in Wayne County, Wilson County, and other ones, but not in specifically Nash County yet.
Okay. It wouldn't be the same developer as Barnes Hill Church Road?
No.
No, okay.
Other comments, questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Belfield?
I know you're representing property owners or developers. Is there any way that you're looking also, those houses, $304,000, price a lot of people that don't out of purchasing. Are you looking at affordable housing? That's something we need to do in Nash County, and up to this point, we have not.
Well, unfortunately, the cost of the house is more driven by the development cost and the cost of materials and the cost of labor more so than the house itself. The only way we can become affordable would be to go to a smaller house footprint, like a townhome or an apartment at this point. I don't know that we can get house sizes much smaller to really support the neighborhood and the family that we need in that price range. Does that make sense? So I guess denser development would increase that ability to be able to provide more affordable housing, but not really in a single-family neighborhood setting like this one.
Well, that's my take.
I certainly understand. There's a need there for sure.
We need to look at that.
And this board approved one not too long ago over off of 97 near Joiners Crossing. So that's a move in the right direction as far as more affordable housing. I hate to call it really affordable, but more affordable housing.
Yeah.
Other commissioners?
Address concern about when construction would occur, that it normally during construction is not done at.
Sure. Right now, construction typically goes from 7 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. If the board wanted to put a condition on those hours, I don't know that the developer would be opposed to that. If we wanted to do something like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, if that's something you would want to ask. Again, you'd have to be able to enforce it, and it's very short term, so I'm not sure that's something we want to get into, but it wouldn't be typical to work really early in the morning before daylight or in the evenings with no light.
Yeah. I guess my point is normally it's not done at night.
Correct. That's right. They have to have lights to work.
Right.
Other comments, questions of the engineer for the project? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have anyone else that wishes to speak for or against this item? Seeing no movement, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Motion carried. Public hearing is now closed, and turn it back over to staff and see if any commissioner has any additional questions. Commissioner Leggett?
I don't necessarily have a question, just wanted to make a comment. I did, while a little bit of the discussion was going on, I looked a little bit more at the Western Hills subdivision, which is over 1.5 miles from this location, and the lot sizes there seem to range between 0.73 acres to well over 2 acres, and the majority of the properties were well over an acre in size. So they weren't all small lots. They weren't all R30 size lots. It was just a few out of the area. And that is the closest neighborhood type property that I could find. It's a large rezoning to consider. And I believe a rezoning of this nature would reshape the area. Reshape the area that it's in, its character. If the property was much closer to town or an ETJ, I think that it might be more appropriate. But for this reason, I really don't think it's compatible with the adjacent land uses. Thank you.
Other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Arrington?
this is in, my district, and it's a large development, and it's a nice development subdivision. And I think the developer has done a fair job in researching all the conditions that need to be met, along with our land use plan. and therefore, if it's appropriate, I'd like to make a motion.
Give me 1 second, see if any other commissioner has a comment. Mr. Belfield?
Yeah, that's going to be a large development. And we're talking about houses, $300,000 and $400,000. Where are those people coming from that can afford that? The tax value based on what we have now, they'll be paying about $4,000 some dollars for tax, property tax on those houses. And I think we need to take a look at that. If we can get some industry in here where people are making $85,000 or $125,000 a year, yes, we could afford to build those type of houses because would be able to buy them. And I just don't see at this point, if they start to developing it right away, where the people coming from that's going to be able to afford them.
Understand your point, sir. Of course, the market will tell whether it worked or not, and that developer's taking that chance. And I think the taxes would be more in the range of $1,800 at the low tax rate that Nash County has for a $300,000 home. But either way, that's a lot of money. I understand your point, sir.
Yeah, it is.
Other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wilkes?
Sorry. I just wanted to say, I believe the developers, or Kevin said that there could be 1,500 square foot homes that could start at 200,000. And so it's not written in stone that they would start at 300 or 400. And, but even if they started at 300, I don't think it's this board's mission to tell people or just what they can afford or where they will come from. Again, Mr. Chairman said that that's the developer's concern, to find people to fill it, to find people to buy those homes. And I think it would be a welcome addition to that area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
With the building materials, I don't see them in this area here where they're talking about, I don't see them building no $200,000 house.
Point well taken, Mr. Belfield. Ms. Leggett, do you have something else?
Well, a starter home anymore is $300,000 and up just because of building costs. But I just wanted to go back to the point about this not being compatible with that area. It's a large rezoning request to consider, and I think it would reshape the character of the area. So I think we need to think very carefully before we approve this.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right, if no other comments at this time, I'd entertain a motion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I indicated earlier that I was going to make the motion.
Yes, sir.
1 minute. My computer went out listening to this. Well, the statement I want to make before I make the motion is that Nash County is a place that people are moving here from other areas. And it will not only be just for people that live right here in Nash County. Sure, we don't have the industry sometimes to support the type of housing that might be developed, but we were working on that. And one of the things that we really don't work on is what we're trying to talk about here is affordable housing. That's a whole nother subject. And we want to address affordable housing. That's what we need to set aside and do. But at this point, this particular development is about pretty much middle-class housing. And we're addressing that need as we move forward and move Nash County forward with housing. We know we have a shortage of houses in our area. And I think this development, yes, it will change the area that we are proposing to rezone, but I don't think it will be a negative change. Sure, some agricultural land will be used, but we have to take some agricultural land in the process of trying to make housing available for our citizens who want to move back to Nash County and live in Nash County. With that statement, I move that the Nash County Board of Commissioners adopt the statement of planned consistency and reasonableness below the conditions of rezoning request of CZ 240902 to rezone the Pacific property to RA 30 CZ for the development of the Baker property subdivision, subject to the following conditions that have been stated by the planning director.
All right, I have a motion on the floor, well stated. Is there a second to that motion?
Second. Oh,
Have 2 seconds,
I
Commissioner.
defer to Ms. Wilkins.
Okay, Commissioner Wilkins, second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
No.
Aye.
No.
All right, we're going to back up. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by a show of hands, if you would, in favor of the motion. All opposed to the motion, show of hands. Motion carries on a 4-3 vote. I was stumped because I didn't count my own hand, I'm sorry. Motion does carry on a 4-3 vote. Correct, Madam Clerk?
We,
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I would just add, because of the discussion about affordable housing, that there are county employees that have been tasked with reviewing affordable housing. They have met with me, and my recommendation to them was to look at areas where either the county or our municipalities have public sewer available, because that is where we'll be able to have the density to accommodate affordable housing. And so there's not a plan currently, but there are county personnel working on a strategy for affordable housing. I anticipate you'll hear something from them in the future.
did you say,
I would add to that, we did have our first meeting, as I asked to have last week, with Mr. Belfield was invited myself and the management staff, and to start that process. It's only the beginning. As you said, there is a committee of employees that are working on that from various departments. It is going to take, as you said, public sewer most likely, and it's also more likely, possibly going to take some grant funding to make it happen. But Mr. Belfield, as you know, we have started that process.
yeah,
And,
I recognize that.
Looked at several different ways of doing it, including possibility of directing it towards some type of employment, employees, whether it be school teachers, whether it be public safety, for Nash County employees. But any ideas of what Board of Commissioners may have about it, we'd certainly like to hear from it. It's not a committee set up for it yet. I just asked to have one meeting with myself and Mr. Belfield and the management staff, so we will have further information on that very soon. Go ahead, sir.
Did you make a statement, did I hear you clear in saying that they're looking at it from a municipality standpoint, affordable?
Well, I think in order to make it affordable, as Mr. Varnell was saying, you need higher density development. And that's typically going to mean, instead of having individual on-site septic systems for every dwelling unit, you'll have some sort of public sewer. And the reason I mentioned the municipalities is that there are municipalities that have public sewer where we could find potential sites. Certainly, there are some limited areas where the county has public sewer of the type that can be tapped into for residential development, but it's possible we could also find good sites within our municipalities as well.
Okay, Mr. Belfield?
Well, we set up a committee, we need to work on, it's a work in progress that we need to keep moving forward with.
Mr. Chairman,
Understood. Commissioner Leggett?
who's on that committee?
There is no committee been formed yet. We had one meeting that I asked to have at our last commissioner meeting when Mr. Belfield brought it up, and we met one time. And now there's a staff committee working on it, but not commissioners yet.
Okay.
We will be moving forward with that later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Everybody good to keep moving, or anybody need a break at this time?
Yeah, let's have one.
Sir?
Let's have a break.
Let's have a break. Okay, I will call for let me make sure I'm out of my public hearings 1 second. I am out of public hearings, so
We got one more.
we got one more.
But that's all right.
It's not a public hearing. It is a public hearing, I'm sorry. Can I finish up one more item, Mr. Bellfield?
That'd be fine.
All right, we'll move on then to item number 9, which is Community Development Block Grant Public Hearing, Neighborhood Revitalization Grant Application. And I'll call on Ms. Emily Moore to make this presentation. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Nash County intends to submit an application for $950,000 of Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization Funds. The grant would be used to address housing substantial rehabilitation or reconstruction needs within Nash County for low, moderate income, owner-occupied households. At this time, we will request the current maximum funding of $950,000. We will apply for funds to assist with scattered site housing, substantial rehabilitation, and reconstruction. We have gathered applications and reviewed them for eligibility. A housing selection committee was established. The Housing Selection Committee met and ranked the eligible applications in accordance with the approved Housing Selection Committee bylaws and guidance. The Housing Selection Beneficiaries List was created from the highest 7 ranked applicants. Today, we present the Housing Selection Beneficiaries List, which contains all reconstructions. The Housing Selection Committee meeting minutes are also attached in your packets. We present the Citizen Participation Plan and the resolution to submit an application. So the recommended actions, we do need to hold the second public hearing, and then we ask for you to approve the Housing Selection Beneficiaries List, approve the Citizen Participation Plan, and approve the resolution to submit an application.
All right, questions of Ms. Moore on this item? Seeing none, entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Harrington.
It was Leggett.
It was Leggett.
Excuse me, Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Harrington. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing again to hear from the public about this Community Development Block Grant, Neighborhood Revitalization. Anyone here wishes to speak for or against this item? Seeing no movement, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harrington. Belfield. Commissioner Belfield, any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Would you state exactly what the motion for approval, you had 3 things you needed it to include?
Let's see, the Housing Selection Beneficiaries List, that is the top 7 ranked applicants, approve the Citizen Participation Plan, and then approve the resolution to submit an application. And I can read that resolution if you wish.
Why don't you do that?
Okay. Resolution by the Nash County Board of Commissioners to submit a 2024 Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization application. Whereas Nash County has indicated its desire to assist in community development efforts for housing within Nash County, and whereas Nash County has held 2 public hearings concerning the proposed application for CDBG-NR to benefit low to moderate income owner-occupied housing within the county, and whereas Nash County desires to pursue a formal application for CDBG NR funding to benefit low to moderate income owner-occupied housing within the county. And whereas Nash County certifies it will meet all federal regulatory and statutory requirements of the State of North Carolina Community Development Block Grant Program, now therefore be it resolved by the Nash County Board of Commissioners that Nash County is authorized to submit a formal application to the North Carolina Department of Commerce for CDBG NR funds to benefit low to moderate income owner-occupied housing within the county. Adopted this the 7th day of October 2024 in Nash County, North Carolina.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the list that was submitted to us of the 7 names, approve the plan itself, and approve the resolution.
I move approval, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion by Commissioner Belfield. Is there a second to his motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will take about a 10-minute recess.
She had one more.
Then we'll pick back up on item number 10. As we recall, we left off ready to begin item number 10, which is lead service line replacement grant resolution. I'll call on Emily Moore at this time to make this presentation.
Good morning again.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Let's see, Nash County will apply to North Carolina Environmental Quality Division of Water Infrastructure for its lead service line replacement funding. Funding will be used to inventory lead service lines and connectors in central Nash and northern Nash water systems within the county. So the recommendation that we ask is for you to approve the authorizing resolution. And I can read that resolution if you would like.
Oh, let me do questions first.
Okay.
Any questions about this item, and then I'll have you read the resolution. Mr. Boone, do we really think we've got any service lines that need replacing due to this item?
We want to confirm that, but the concerns will be in some of the areas, particularly systems that the county has assumed responsibility for, like Castelia,
Okay.
maybe some in Dorchester, that may have older services, that may have some lead service lines.
I forgot about those. I just couldn't quite wrap around that we would have any in the time span we've had a water system, but you're correct on that. I understand now. Please go ahead and read the resolution.
Resolution by the Nash County Board of Commissioners to submit a 2024 lead service line replacement application. Whereas the bipartisan infrastructure law invested funds towards lead service line replacement, and whereas this funding is available to local governments through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, and whereas the LSLR funding can be used to inventory, remove, and replace lead service lines and connectors, and whereas Nash County has indicated its desire to inventory lead service lines and connectors in the central Nash and northern Nash water systems. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Nash County Board of Commissioners that Nash County is authorized to submit a formal application to the North Carolina Environmental Quality Division of Water Infrastructure for LSLR funds to inventory lead service lines and connectors in the central Nash and northern Nash water systems within the county. That Emily Moore, Grants and Intergovernmental Relations Director, the authorized representative and successor so titled, is hereby authorized to execute and file an application, furnish information as the appropriate state agency may request, make assurances as contained above, and execute such other documents that may be required in connection with the application on behalf of Nash County. Adopted this the 7th day of October 2024 in Nash County, North Carolina. I did intend to say that this resolution was in your chair. We did update it to include the line about the authorized representative. So it does differ from the one that was originally in your packet.
Okay. I must ask, Mr. Boone, the way this resolution is written, it seems to me that it's going to hold us to the Nash Central and the Northern Nash districts. Should we not modify it based on where we think we may have a need?
Area 2?
Yeah.
Yes, we should.
Okay, so we can approve it if you would state what it needs to read, subject to adding that to it. When you say Area 2,
That's 58, and then incorporate Castello.
okay, and you also mentioned Dorchers as well, is it
That's
all
Northern
in the
Nash.
Northern Nash? Okay, okay. You think of anywhere else?
Those are our only 3 permits.
Okay, all right,
I can get that to your folder, get it
Oh.
updated.
okay. All right, any questions on that item? Entertain a motion for approval, subject to the one addition of Area 2.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We're on item number 11, which is the monthly tax report. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners.
morning.
Hope everybody's doing well. In keeping with GS General Statute 105-357, the tax collector will be providing a monthly report showing the amount of taxes collected and efforts being made to collect those taxes. This report is designed to keep the board current on activities in the collector's office. The report is for your information only and does not require approval. It is recommended that you accept the report so that it will be noted in the minutes.
Questions on the tax report for the month? Seeing none, we'll accept it for be included in the minutes. Item number 12 is tax refunds,
Yes, sir. Thank
if
you.
you have any.
No, sir, we do not. In compliance with North Carolina General Statute, Article 27, 105-381, the tax collector will submit to the governing body for their approval a list of any tax refunds after legitimacy of the refund has been established. However, there are no funds this month.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on then to item number 13, which is a contract with Oakley Collier Architects for the administrative services for the work that we plan to do repair-wise to our existing courthouse. Mr. Boone?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board is aware, the number of capital projects we've discussed with the board about possibly bundling into a bank financing package. This is one of those projects, the courthouse exterior renovations. And what we're asking the board to do today is approve the attached scope of work and a amendment to Service Order 1 to move forward with the design, bidding, and also provide for the contract administration on that project. And basically, this will encompass all the exterior repairs beginning at the interface of the new courthouse, which is a 1986 addition to the courthouse, and wrapping all the way around the courthouse over to Drake Street. So I guess this will touch on the roofing, the windows, and all the masonry repairs that are needed on the courthouse complex. As you will see in the scope of services, the request fee is $203,090. With that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Why so much?
I'm sorry?
Why so much?
Why so much? Well, the project estimate on the repairs varied from 3.5 to 4.2 million was the most recent number I received. So that's about 0.5%. About 5%. And it does include the contract administration, also includes the
I did see
inspection.
that.
They include that construction observation in their contract administration.
So we're really up to maybe $3.5 million?
We'll find out for certain once we have design and we put it out to bid, because we need hard numbers certainly before we go to the LGC and before we secure the bank financing. Now, certainly we can adjust the scope of the project as we need to based on our budget, but right now, based on all the roofing, all the masonry repairs, and the window replacements, the most recent number was actually $4.2 million.
Will you have enough at this point to tell us the priority of those 3 items?
I would certainly want to dry the building in. If we got any issues with roofing, that's going to be first. Masonry repairs is a very close second. We have some fairly acute issues on the 1986 edition with the masonry work there. The quality of construction was not really where it really needed to be back in the mid-'80s. We are here at 2024, and then we would focus on the windows.
All right. Other questions of this item for Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Apologize, I should have waited and let y'all go first. Go ahead,
just a
ma'am.
clarification, you did say all these are for the new courthouse, right?
No, I said it starts at the old portion of the courthouse, at the interface with the new courthouse, where we get the breezeway. That's a 1986 addition. We're starting at that building, which actually wraps around all the way to the back alley where the jail is, and goes all the way across the old Superior Court room over to Drake Street, down Drake Street, and wraps around to the backside of the sheriff's office. But it's the older portion of the existing courthouse, not the new courthouse. We started at the interface with the new courthouse.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, let me,
Yes, ma'am.
originally, the upkeep for that wasn't it 5 million last year for renovations in the old
There
Superior
was a
Court?
grant the county received through the legislature last year for additional improvements at the jail for $5 million. I'm not aware of any other $5 million project that we had discussed.
I remember us having a conversation about the upkeep and refurbishment of the old Superior Courtroom.
That was
That
500,000.
Yeah, that was $500,000.
Okay.
Other questions? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval of the request and authorize the county manager to execute the contract with Oakey Collier and Associates.
Move approval.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? Got any questions now? We seem to be a tad bit hesitant. Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
Aye.
Motion carried. Excuse, what? You vote no?
Against.
Okay. Carries on a 6-1 vote. Thank you.
And I will say, if any of the commissioners, Ms. Wilkins, you would like to walk around the building with me, I'd be glad to show you some of the work that needs to be done.
Already did. Thank you.
I'll be glad to go with you. You want to go back again.
All right, the next item, number 14, is a Nash County Detention Facility addition and renovation change order. Mr. Boone?
Yes, sir. So the item I have before you today is change order 14 on the Nash County Detention Facility addition and renovation project. As I've commented a couple of times before, I'm looking forward to those change orders that add money back to the project, but in this case, this will increase the cost of the project $26,444.30. As outlined in the change order, the 12 different items that were addressed, the most significant of which was a reduction in the contract amount for some contract allowances that were established in the contract that we will not need moving forward as we approach the conclusion of the project. And then 2 other significant items were the addition of some relays that were needed to operate the smoke purge fans in the dorms where the inmates are housed. That resulted in an increase of $17,476.16. And also replacement of some damper motors for a portion of the HVA system that was not impacted by the project, but does impact the commissioning of the project. So it was in a portion of the facility that we are not working in, but it was part of a zone in the jail that we did touch. And in order for the project to go through the commissioning process that is required by state statute, we had to address this issue, and we did not find out about it until the last 45 to 60 days. And that adds $35,337.13. But the net result of the 12 different items is an increase in the contract amount, again, $26,444.30. We're bringing the amended contract amount to $18,730,718.70, and we'll add 35 days to the substantial completion date, which will become September 25th, 2024. As recommended that the Board of Commissioners approve the attached change order and authorize the county manager to execute same on behalf of the county. That said, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions of Mr. Boone on this change order? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Change order stands approved, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 15, which is Nash County Retiree Medical Plan. And I call on our Human Resources Manager this time. Good morning, Tim.
Yes, sir. Good morning. No worries. Thank you, sir. Trying to throw me for a loop already.
Trying to stump you up.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Nash County Human Resources has been presented with an opportunity to offer richer retiree medical benefits to our post-65 and disabled retirees while saving the county over $140,000 annually by transitioning from our current Blue Medicare Supplement and Blue Medicare Prescription Plan to an all-inclusive Medicare Advantage plan with drug coverage. I do want to make note that the primary purpose here is to offer a better benefit to the retirees and those that will be retiring with that benefit, rather than just a cost savings. That is a byproduct of this, but the primary focus is better coverage. Currently, Nash County hosts 154 retirees who are post-65 or disabled and receiving Medicare benefits. Those 154 are on one of 4 different Medicare plans, with rates varying in coverages based on different enrollment dates and personal circumstances, including gender, age, residential zip code, and tobacco user status. Currently, supplement and Part D plans, their rates vary from $247 to up to $1,613 per month. The MAP-D plan would allow for our retirees to access the same plan coverage with one flat rate of $308 per month. This will be a savings to the county and for some of the retirees who pay a portion of their coverage. In addition to the savings, the MAP-D plan offers additional coverage and lesser out-of-pocket fees for most retirees, including but not limited to hearing services, hearing aids, vision coverage, which the county currently does not offer to the retirees. And that also includes a glasses allowance and does not have a donut hole for prescriptions where they have additional out-of-pocket. Human Resources polled other North Carolina local government entities who have transitioned to this MAP-D plan through Mark III, who is our insurance broker, and they have offered very positive feedback regarding the plan upgrades. Recently, many of our post-65 retirees have requested that Nash County consider an upgrade to their Medicare plan coverage. However, we do still anticipate that some will have questions or hesitation. So to mitigate that, we are collaborating with our broker, Mark III, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, the carrier, to host in-person and virtual sessions for our retirees, giving them an opportunity to voice their concerns and receive one-on-one assistance and explanations of how their plan might change. Mark III has also designated a representative who will be available during office hours ongoing to answer questions for all of the retirees regarding this coverage. And if I may. Let me get back to that. Sorry. How do I prompt through that? Okay.
If you have it printed, we can show it on here.
I apologize for that. I thought that it was preloaded.
Where's this one, Tim?
We have it on our tablets, do we not?
Y'all do, yes.
If you just refer to a page number, we can do fine.
Thank you very much for
Yes, sir.
that assistance. Per Nash County policy, full-time employees hired between January 1 of 2001 and June 30th of 2007 work a minimum of 10 years immediately prior to retirement and retire with unreduced benefits, qualify for some amount of paid insurance by the county. The eligibility requirements are: employee must retire with unreduced benefits from the local government retirement system, and the employee must have worked a minimum of 10 years with Nash County immediately prior to the retirement. Contributions are shared as follows. Employees who have 10 years of service, the county pays 50% of that contribution. With 15 years of service, the county pays 75, therefore the retiree 25. And 20 years of service or greater, the county pays 100%. So that means that no matter the change, the cost to the employee, if they were under the plan with 20 years or greater of service with the county is paying 100%, so there'd be no cost to the employee. And then those with 15, there could possibly be a change. We will get into that further. The retirees are offered two different plans, a supplement and a prescription plan. Of that supplement plan, there are currently, because of when they qualified for it, there are different types of plans. They go by Plan C, Plan F, Plan G, Plan J. So they all have a little bit of different variables as to what they cover. So of course, that can be a little bit confusing for us as we try to educate or assist the retiree, but also to the retirees themselves. As they talk to one another, they might say, I have this benefit, why aren't you using that? And the others don't know that they're on a different plan, so it's hard for them to communicate and help share what they're experiencing might be able to help the other. In addition to the Medicare plan, there's also prescription plans. So in the basic supplement, those rates can range from $116 to over $1,400. The prescription plan adds another $131, so the total can be $247 to $1,613. In addition, those plans, they can adjust twice a year. So as we know with insurance, that means that likely that's going to be going up twice a year. The plan that Mark III has presented to us, again, would have one rate amount, which would be $308 per retiree. So if we look at that cost comparison, when you add all of that up, of course, a flat rate, it's going to be over $140,000 a year. The MAPD plan mirrors our current plans in the form of a passive preferred provider organization, but it also adds additional benefits of the hearing aid allowance, vision with eyeglass allowance, and free personal emergency response system. So anything, if they were in an emergency, they would be able to have an alert. And also it features the no donut hole on prescriptions. The transition deadline for this is upcoming. We would need to have everything completed by the end of November so that it would be effective January 1. If approved, we would go ahead and start notifying all of the retirees that are on the plan. We would need to notify them and get them to sign for the change. And of course, there is a concern there of making sure that we have enough attention, that we are able to speak to them and make them aware of it. So we are under a time deadline, But we do feel that if we get approval, we would be able to inform everyone of their changes and be able to answer any questions. We would do that with group meetings, but we would also have individual meetings. We would make phone calls, emails, everything that we would have to do to make sure that we are able to get the information in front of them so that they're aware of the changes. I mentioned that because there is 100% is paid for some, 25% for others, and 50% for those others, there are a few. I have a tendency to always try to shoot holes in things, like why would this not work? This sounds like a wonderful plan, but is there going to be anyone who is going to be really negatively impacted? So if I am that retiree, sounds like a great plan, I like it, but am I going to go from giving $25 a month to $150 a month? That was my number one biggest concern, and fortunately, that is not the case. So the plan is mapped out very well. Of all of those retirees that pay 25%, there are 31 of those. 9 would see an increase, but that increase is generally from 60 cents to 80 cents. There are a couple that have up to $15 a month of an increase. Again, they are getting added coverages that they're paying for, perhaps in addition to that, for prescription, hearing, and other things. Those that are on 50%, there are 5 of those that would see a slight increase, and that would be ranging from $3 a month up to $30 a month. But again, that does offset with the additional premiums that they pay for other coverages. And also like to make note that this would be a 2-year plan, so the rate would hold steady for 2 years, while those people that are on their current plan, they're going to likely see increases up to 4 times over those 2 years. So again, we anticipate that it's going to be cost savings for everyone in addition to greater benefits. Where you really see a lot of those, the higher amounts of change are because of the parameters of age, smoking status, things like that, but primarily due to zip code. As retirees, they retire, they go to the beach, or they go elsewhere where there's not the same medical care, and medical care tends to rise. But another concern that I had was, are we the first to do this? What have other people done? We have spoken to other municipalities and counties who have adopted the same plan in the same situation as us, and they have been very pleased. So we didn't just work with the broker. We didn't just go with what we thought. We reached out to others who have done the same thing. So with all of that, I entertain any questions that you might have.
All right, Commissioner, questions? Mr. Outlaw?
Yeah, I got several questions.
Yes, sir. And I did bring Kimberly as well. They have been working on this for a few years, maybe a year and a half or so, but she might have a little bit more knowledge, so I might address her, sir.
It would seem to me that before you would implement something like this, that you would have some communication with those that are eligible in advance of making this change. That's my first comment. But I know it's hard for people to believe, but I am on Medicare. And I'm with a local insurance agency that I have a lot of regard for. I trust my agent at Farm Bureau. And a couple of years back, he recommended that I go on a Medicare Advantage plan, and I love it. It's a great plan for me. It offers additional benefits. But in talking to him and in talking to other people, there are so many people that it would not be a great fit for them. So with that said, wouldn't it be best to have these meetings in advance to share with these people exactly what they'll be getting, and rather than just making this change and saying, let's go with it?
Yes, sir. I totally understand where you're coming from on that. I do believe that some conversations have been had, but perhaps not in the global meeting format that you're speaking of.
Well, I know my agent did not recommend my wife go on the Advantage plan, but he recommended I go on it. And I'm not an insurance person. I just talk to people of a similar age group as I am, and some like it, some don't. But you've stated in here that some would have opposition to it. So it would seem to me that you would want to try to have some discussion with those people before you just pass this along to them.
Kimberly, do you know if any of those conversations have been had, or what feedback?
Well, I mean, my point is this: how many people are, out of your 150-plus retirees, how many are opposed to it? And have you had discussions with them and got their input, and have you resolved their concerns? If not, then what are concerns that they still have?
No, sir, to answer that question, I have not personally canvassed all of that.
Yeah, well, I think we're getting the cart before the horse here then if we haven't had those discussions.
And just to double down on what he said, we have not had any global discussions with our retirees about this particular plan that we have identified for them. We have had plenty of discussions with them about what some of their pet peeves and their interests are as far as upgrading insurances, and this plan happened to be a good fit in covering a lot of those bullet points that most of our retirees have been asking for a couple of years. We did do our due diligence in asking whether or not this would hinder them from being able to go to their normal doctors, and we were told that this should not change how they're getting their medical care. It's actually more of an upgrade. They're getting more services, they're getting more access to health care, they're getting those additional benefits that the county currently does not offer them, like the vision. So once they get onto this plan, they can actually cancel their vision coverage and save money that way. So we looked at this not as something that we were going to poll every individual retiree on, but whether or not it seemed like it would be a good fit for what we have heard over these past years. But I certainly understand where you're coming from.
Well, as you age and your medical profile changes, then that makes the Advantage plan not always the best plan for some people. And I know this is not something we can do, but what would make me feel real good about it is if my agent said, this is a great thing, we need to go with it. I don't know these people you're dealing with. I'm sure they're very reputable people in there, but I just don't know that it considers all the people. That's just me.
Do we know how many people were on that old Plan J?
I did not bring the specific numbers for
That's probably the one you paying $1,400 some dollars a month for, because it's been discontinued for many years. And that should have been upgraded somewhere along the way, because with the fewer people that are on that plan, the more claims you have, the older they get, and the more the premium goes up because of the limited number that's still on the plan. So that should have been changed a long time ago.
Absolutely. So Plan J is not our highest premium, but it is our second highest. Our Plan C, which holds our disabled retirees, are actually the highest. And that's because those individuals have not reached age 65, but they are Medicare eligible. So we're paying that really high premium of $1,400, $1,500 a month for each of them. So Plan J is second, and we were told that because of the way our plan is built, we cannot just transition people from Plan J who are grandfathered into like our current Plan G, which is costing the county.
It's cost a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm like Mr. Outlaw. Medicare Advantage is not for everybody, because I was in the insurance business for 33 years. But when you're doing a group thing, you're going to have to go with what's the most advantageous to everybody. And some people are going to be pay more premium, and some people are going to pay less premium, but you kind of got to take it at a thing. And the problem here is, if you're going to do it this year, you got to do it.
You got to do it now.
You got to do it now.
I didn't
Before
realize your
January.
background, so thank you very much for your input.
So
But again, just to elaborate on that, my point is simply, if this is something we're going to do as a group plan, at least give those people that have concerns with it the opportunity for some discussion in advance to hear what they've got to say. I mean, that seems reasonable to me.
Yes, sir.
Other comment, Commissioner Leggett?
I would agree with Mr. Outlaw. I really don't know anything about Medicare firsthand, actually, but in preparation for this meeting, I did ask around and try to have some conversations to understand better, and I appreciate the amount of information you included in the agenda. It was a lot of information, but it was good reading for somebody like me. And, you know, in my conversations prior to the meeting, one of my takeaways was just that all plans aren't for all people. And so just giving those people a chance to have conversation with y'all and give their input on their situation and how they would be affected would be very beneficial, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I understand what Commissioner Outlaw and Leggett are saying, but according to this, notifications will go out tomorrow, and if I'm not mistaken, we all that are getting Medicare have what I call open season, I believe, from October 1st till December 15th, in time to choose a plan. We don't know what the new plans are until we see them online October, during that time period. But, and then the retirees would have in mid-late October through early November, and the county's going to host in-person and virtual information sessions. But my question would be, is there's no opting out of this for them if they don't want it. Is that right?
Right, so this would be our plan. Anyone can opt out at their choosing, but at their own cost, of course.
Just to reiterate that every plan's not for everybody. Mr. Outlaw's got a Medicare Advantage plan. Me, I got a Plan G and a separate drug plan. Advantage didn't work for me, not to my advantage. So it's
Wrongly titled, right?
yeah. But I get to choose.
Sure.
And he got to choose.
Right.
And honestly, during the open season, I've already scheduled my time with my agent, and I'm going in, and I'm expecting him, because my medical profile has not significantly changed. He'll say, do you like it? Yeah, it's a great plan for you. You need to stay with it. But he may say, no, you need to consider this. So I just, I get the opportunity to talk to him in advance.
And I believe that may be one of the bigger differences between our county plan and a typical person who is on a Medicare supplement of some sort or an Advantage plan. The county has to choose one plan that we offer to everyone, and so it does lock in someone. Our current Plan G doesn't work for a lot of our retirees, and unfortunately, we have to have those conversations with them and say, this is what we offer, and we've lost retirees on our county plan that they worked hard for because they wanted to move over to an Advantage plan, and the county just simply did not support that. And so it's been very important to us in HR that we've dug in and put our elbows in and to see what we can do to enrich some of their benefits, especially during the donut hole season. Our retirees are suffering, and we hate to see it, and it happens every year. And they work so hard, and they're definitely deserving of a richer plan than what our current plan can offer them. And so again, we do know that the MAPD plan hits a lot of those bullet points that we've been hearing for years. I do agree with Commissioner Outlaw, it's not going to be for everyone, but I'm not sure there is one plan that is.
No, but what is for everyone is talk to me, communicate with me. Don't just send me something, say, here's what we got.
Yes,
Give me the opportunity to give you input.
Right.
You got time to do that. I mean, this board is not meeting again until November, but if need be, this board can call a special meeting. We can do that anytime, if timing is an issue here. I'm just saying, give those people an opportunity to give you input and try to work through their concerns. because some that are opposed to it, maybe, you might convince them that this is for them.
I think that those are great points, and we can certainly do that.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm one, I'm just,
Right. If it's the pleasure of the board, we can certainly do that. If we could do a couple of different things. We could pause and do that now. Of course, the time frame does put us a little bit behind. However, we could also reach out, we could schedule those meetings, and if everyone's in agreement with going forward with the pleasure and the review of the county manager, we could then proceed if you gave her the blessing for that, if she liked the outcome of those meetings. So there are a few different things that we could do, but we are presenting the opportunity and of course serve at the pleasure of the board and your wishing.
just one final comment. I would assume that whether or not the doctor accepts this or not is up to the doctor or the facility. So if my doctor decides no, then I don't go to my doctor unless I do something different. So that's the kind of discussion these people need to understand. It's not set in stone, they will keep their doctor.
No, it's up to the practice for
That's
them
right.
to opt in for any type
That's
of
right. And
insurance
that's just
coverage,
something that
discount,
everybody needs to
anything.
understand.
Right, that is their business model, yes, sir.
Mr. Ayrton?
Anyway, y'all are charged with finding a group plan. And that group plan that might offer the most choices at a reasonable cost, that might not fit everybody, but the thing is that it's a group plan. And how do you find a group plan that offers enough choices that will satisfy our retirees' needs? So I know that's a hard job, but take in consideration that everything been said and move forward.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Belfield?
State employees is going to have the opportunity for the next 30 days. They are having meetings around the state, and one would be on the 17th at Nash Community College, which one I plan to attend. Explaining to us and giving us an opportunity whether we want to change or not. They're leaving it up to us. There are several plans, and you can pick one you want, or drop completely out and go another way if you want to, but we have that opportunity. And I support the same thing here with this, that you ought to give them an opportunity that you maybe set up some meetings and explain to them the plan, if they like it or don't like it, what are other alternatives.
So that, I'm not quite sure if we're on the exact same page, but we're planning to have those meetings to let them know what the plan would be. They would have that choice, of course. That is different from having community meetings or retiree meetings where they look at all the different plans and choose from one of those. This is, as mentioned before, this is a group plan that we must choose. And I'm quite sure as well that no matter what plan that we have, the one that we have now, or if you look at the 4 different choices, not everyone is going to be 100% in agreement. You would like that, but I'm not certain. But again, we can go back and we can present to the community and the retirees, or we can take whatever path you choose for us to do.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
I have not had a chance to speak yet. I'd like to speak.
My apologies.
I always give the other commissioners first chance, but I got a few questions if it's okay with you. I'm kind of like Commissioner Arrington. I know what y'all working on is a group plan, and there's no doubt that, you know, we're going to pick something, no matter what it is, that's not going to fit every need specifically. My real question is, in the work that y'all done, are y'all certain that the majority of these 154 people are going to rather have the plan that you've picked than what we currently have? Is there any doubt of that?
No,
None whatsoever.
that the vast majority are going to be in support of this.
Okay. And if we were to approve it today and somebody is adversely affected, they have the right, which you, I think, have said some of our employees have already done, is opted out and go on their own because it was better for them to do that. They can still do that.
Yes.
Okay, understand that. The one thing, and this may be self-serving, but you made the statement that potentially employees at the beach you mentioned may pay a higher premium because there may not be as good as medical care down there as it may be here. But in dealing with it myself, I know me personally, I'd be better off to use my address at a home on the Outer Banks than I would the address that I use here. And I'm told it would be a lot cheaper. It'd be half the price of I pay here for my employees. But I'm told the reason for that is it also takes into account what the average cost of this is for all the people that live in certain zip codes. Is that a true statement?
That is true.
Okay, so it's a lot of things that come into play there. I've even considered, I'm not a person to lie, but I've sometimes considered it would save me thousands of dollars a month if I put my address for my company at the beach, quite frankly. And it just amazes me that you're tied to the average healthiness of the people that live in your zip code. Is apparently what drives it more than anything else. So, time-wise, if we do pause and you go talk to these employees, where are we at with that? Are we subject to lose anything by pausing 30 days?
Short answer.
Mr. Outlaw, I hope you understand what I'm asking. I just want to make sure we're not going to miss the boat on something.
I understand.
Okay.
Short answer is time is of the essence. So current plan was to have the group meetings and individual meetings, including phone calls, emails, all of that, to inform everyone in advance of the change rather than of what the change might be. As of today, it might be, you know, if we do not get the blessing to move forward. But we do need to, in order for everyone to know of the plan, decide if they want to do something different, and then for us to enact it and have it effective so that the coverage, when they need it on January 1, is available, so they have their cards and things of that nature, so that it'd be accepted at the doctors or facility. I'm not saying we can't do it, but time has been something that we've been working on very, very diligently to try to get this in place. It was not ready to present at the last meeting. Perhaps had I done that, we would have had the direction of Commissioner Outlaw to have these meetings in advance, but I'm not saying we can't do it, but certainly it makes a time crunch.
What's our drop dead date for pulling the trigger?
Do you recall?
They want an answer now.
Yeah.
We're a little behind, not a little behind, but they were hoping to have an answer about a month ago. But we knew that we needed more time on our end to do some research. They are hoping that we come back to them with a yay or nay today so that they know how to get their staff in line for the meetings that are coming up, the enrollment forms that we have to do with all of the retirees, and then the administrative work that has to be done to actually enroll them and get their cards to them. We have a couple of weeks between now and when that meeting was going to take place, which was going to be November 6th, but that was the day they were hoping to have all of those forms somewhat in hand or in the works. So we don't have too much time, but we could certainly try to do whatever we can, and we can even ask the question of what happens if we can't do it this January 1st. Right. That may be something we want to explore.
Yeah, let's get that answer.
Yes, ma'am. And when Kimberly mentions they, she's not speaking of the broker, but of Blue Cross Blue Shield themselves.
Is the rate that you've been quoted for this, is it subject to go up by us delaying any? Or is it fixed for a certain period of time?
I believe it's for now, and then we have to answer the question of could we delay another few weeks or a month, or do we need to push it? Is it an option to push it into July of next year? I don't know that. But if we were going to have it active for January 1, this would be the rate.
These Medicare RX plans are normal, and I don't know if it's different because it's a group plan or not, but I think you have got to sign up if you're going to change by, I think it's December the 5th or 7th, so it'll be effective January 1st, and then you don't get a chance to change them till next year.
Right.
Is that the case with a group plan? I don't think these are group plans. I think they're really individual plans that we have now. Is that right? I sent one bill.
That's
but
correct.
You're right.
It's still individual plans.
That's
You're right.
correct. Currently, everyone has individual plans.
So are they allowed to use different zip codes, or the group plan use the same zip code?
Right now, they are based on the zip codes. What we're talking about, what we're proposing would be one rate for every employee, no matter their
Basically, be
zip
using the
code.
same, it's the group plan using the same zip code.
Right.
It doesn't take that into account.
All right.
Commissioner Outlaw, do you see any middle ground by which we could possibly give the manager permission to move on with it if in a couple of weeks?
If this board chooses as a body to move forward with this,
Right.
I'm going to support this board.
Okay.
The only thing I would ask is that the clerk make a notation in the minutes, my concern about the way this is being communicated.
Okay.
I think it should have been communicated in advance.
I don't
I
think
think those
anybody,
discussions should have
I
taken place.
don't think there's anybody in the room that disagrees with you on
And
that.
if you don't disagree with that, then you probably would have a problem voting for this. But I'm going to vote for it if this majority of this board is for it.
Right, understood. Madam Manager, anything you
I'll
wish
tell
to
you,
say?
Dan, I think is the resident expert.
I agree.
And no size fits all.
I agree.
You know, but when you're doing a group plan, then you got to do it one size, or evidently not, because we hadn't been doing it that way.
Well, what these people, the one size doesn't fit all, then those that it doesn't fit, then they got some work to get out and do that they are not aware of at this point.
Some of these people that left the plan and went on their own with a Medicare Advantage probably got a Medicare Advantage for a zero premium, depending on their income. You know, so it's
It's very
there's
complicated.
no one size fits all.
I think my key concern is if you can stand there and say, you know it's best for the majority of these 154 people without question, and they gonna like it, that resonates pretty heavy with me.
Yes, sir. I would, for the majority, of course, I cannot speak for every individual, but for the majority and our evaluation, we would not have presented this to you had we thought that it would not be good for the majority.
All right, pleasure to the board. I've had the question called. Thank you for your leniency, ma'am. Question is called. Entertain a motion at this time for this matter.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Wilkins.
I make a motion that we approve the proposal for Nash County's change from Blue Medicare Supplement and Blue Medicare Prescription Plan to the Medicare Advantage Plan with prescription, which is MAPD, effective January 1st, 2025, subject to review and approval by the county manager.
Have a motion on the floor, motion in proper order. Mr. Attorney?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harrington. Questions on the motion itself? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by a show of hands. Those opposed? Appears the motion carried on a 4-3 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I will just say, we will do our due diligence with our employees, and if for some reason the response from them is completely different than what we have shared, what we think it would be with you today, I think we can make that turn and pull the plug on it and not move forward. So we will do what Commissioner Outlaw has suggested, and others of you that have those concerns. I will say we have been working on this for actually a couple of years. And I was the one who pumped the brakes in the very beginning, because when Medicare Part D and the Medicare Advantage plans came out, I was over in senior services, and we received lots of phone calls from our folks that their plans were not being taken at the doctor's office. And that was years and years ago now, and times have changed, but we do know that there's still that potential out there. So I think we will definitely be suggesting to our retirees to reach out to their providers to get an answer up front about whether or not this plan would be accepted for them. And then that way they have the information that they need to be able to know if it sounds good or not to them. So we will put the work into it and report back to you on where we stand, and we appreciate your support.
If you decide to stay where you are, first thing I look at is those people that are on Plan J.
Well, I think
Changing them to a Plan G will save you a lot of money, because that plan's got so high, nobody's really on it. And if they had to pay the premium themselves, they wouldn't be on it now.
Must be the one I paid.
Right, I just don't know that we have the ability. We don't have the ability to change them.
Okay.
To make sure what you understand, good or bad, Madam Manager, the motion that was made is subject to your approval, so when you
Yes.
get through,
Thank you.
kind of the final decision rests with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right? Thank you all.
Thank you.
That was item number 15. We're now on item number 16, which is Elm Street Drainage Project, CDBG Disaster Recovery Project Audits. And I'll call on our Finance Director, and here she comes. Mary Hogan.
Morning or
You
afternoon?
have
Might be afternoon by now. I didn't
3 or
check.
4 items.
Yep, got a few. The first one's a easier one. It's a project closeout. The Elm Street Drainage Project included replacement of existing public storm drainage, infrastructure damage by Hurricane Matthew along the Elm Street from east of North Alston Street, west to Stony Creek and Nashville. Funding included North Carolina CDBG Disaster Recovery Grant of $496,266, a Golden Leaf Disaster Recovery Grant of $500,000, a North Carolina Commerce Funds for Administration, $6,686, and funding from the town of Nashville of $13,495, for a total project of $1,016,447. Construction is complete, reimbursements have been received, and the project has been monitored. So we're just asking that we will approve the closeout of that project.
Any questions on this item? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval of the project ordinance closeout.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Question on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Item number 17 is Detention Center Grant Project Ordinance.
This grant project ordinance is presented to set up the funding and expenditures for the capital improvements and related equipment at the detention center in Nash County. The project cost for the improvements is $5 million. Funding for the project is from the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management State Capital and Infrastructure Fund for fiscal year 2025.
Any questions on this item?
Do we know what those improvements are?
We do, and we could have Mr. Boone explain it to us right quick if you'd like to.
Okay.
It was an effort, of course, we want to thank our assembly members for getting us the money, and then we really need to thank our sheriff as well for working with staff and agreeing on something that worked within the budget. and accomplish some other things. So, Mr. Boone?
Yeah, so the largest portion of the project entails a conversion of one of the open concept dorms, specifically Dorm 3, to a two-man lockdown cell. So similar to what we've done for
Like
Dorm
we've
1,
already
the
got.
current project, we'll do for Dorm 3, and then some other ancillary improvements throughout the facility, some roofing improvements, some smaller improvements, but the biggest portion of the project will be that Dorm 3 conversion.
And how many individual lockdown cells would that give us with the addition of these? Like
Make me do math in my
230
head.
or?
So we've added 94, Dorm 1 will be 27, the concept plan for Dorm 3 will be 21, and we've got 36 in the shoes. So if someone can help me with math, I'm getting too old to do math in my head. I need some help. 94, 27, 21, and 36,
158,
plus 7 in the female seg, 165.
165.
So that would give you containment for 2 per cell for over 300.
I think he was
No,
calling
that's-
that.
I'm counting beds, not sales. I'm counting beds. So that's 165 beds.
I thought each containment cell had 2 beds.
It does. I did not give you a containment cell. I gave you a bed count, 165 beds. So you can
that-
assume it's about 82
That would be with the
cells.
addition of this?
That 165 includes the 21 in Dorm 3, if we move forward with that conversion. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thought it was more than that.
It's 178.
I trust your numbers more than I trust math in my head.
Don't carry it too far. Any other questions? You okay, Mr. Allo?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. If there are no more questions, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Leggett. Y'all pointing at one another now. You just trying to confuse me?
I'm pointing at Dan. Dan had second.
Okay. Second on this side. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 18.
This is the Stream Flow Rehabilitation Program Grant Project Ordinance. This North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Division of Soil and Water Conservation, has offered a debris removal grant contract totaling $114,827 to Nash County for debris removal in Swift Creek. This grant is referred to as the Streamflow Rehab Assistance Program. As part of this debris removal, the debris will need to be cabled, mulched, or chipped away from the floodplain.
Any questions on this item? Is very similar to many more we've had in the past. This, of course, will be addressed in Swift Creek itself. Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Ayrton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Item 19 is the capital project ordinance for Middlesex Shell Building Number 3.
Thank you. This will be the last project ordinance for today. Nash County has sold the first and second shell buildings at the Middlesex Corporation's Corporate Center. In order to keep the economic development momentum moving forward in the area, the proceeds received from the sales were approved at the October 7th, 2024 public hearing to begin efforts at the third shell building at the corporate park earlier this morning. You approved that. This ordinance is presented to set up the project ordinance in order to support the construction of shell building number 3.
Any questions on this item?
I've got a question.
Sure.
Ms. Hogan, do you mind, you might need to do a little research on this, but just for the public's benefit, in the line item for the project revenues here, it shows about $1.6 million coming from the Economic Development Fund. And I know that a lot of times we'll just kind of basically roll the funds from the sale of one shell building and put towards the next shell building. But are there any other funds that come out of that Economic Development Fund?
Any other expenditures?
Well, excuse me, I said that wrong. Are there any other funds that go into the Economic Development Fund, such as property taxes or tourism funds, or a combination of these?
Yeah, let me check, and I can let you know at the next meeting, or
Perfect.
you can email me.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
Grants.
Grants? Is that the answer?
That would be the other major source of income. in that.
The other major source of income would be grants, but let me get you some information. I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other-
I don't know every line of the budget yet. I'm getting there.
You'll get that. I think the answer is, general funds only go in there upon board approval for a specific item to move them in there. And we haven't done that in quite a while. So it's either grant funds or it's rolling funds. And I'm really not sure about TDA. I think we put like maybe $75,000 a year in there.
I'll find out.
We did for a long time. I'm not sure it's still in there. And it was primarily for the appearance of entryways to our industrial parks is where we use those funds for. Okay, let's see. Did I approve that item, Madam Clerk? Okay, entertain a motion for approval for item number 19.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, there a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Item number 20 is budget amendments.
Thank you, Board. First budget amendments from Senior Services. This budget amendment is to reflect the final home and community care block grant fund amounts for the FY 24-25 budget. No additional county dollars are needed. And you'll see all the lines there that we're increasing and decreasing to amend the budget. Keep
What we'll
going. I'll
do,
keep going. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
we'll approve them all at one time.
You told
Unless
me
you
that.
have one specific that you need approved
yeah.
individual, you just let us know.
No, yeah, you told me that last time, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Farmers Market Cooperative Extension. This budget amendment makes funds available from the Tourism Development Authority funding to support the farmers market. The funding includes $4,000 for a Visit NC Farms app and $6,000 for the farmers market. No county funds are required. From the Health Department, this budget amendment makes funds available from the North Carolina Department of Public Health Centers for Disease Control. The purpose of the funding is to help meet critical needs in public health, including recruitment, retaining, and training public health staff, strengthening systems, processes, and policies, and other strategic investments to county. No county funds are required. The next one from Health. This budget amendment is the budget additional state funding for the Women, Infant, and Children's Program for the FY 24-25 fiscal year due to an increase in the per participant rate. These funds will be used to support efforts to increase our participation rate in our local WIC agency. Next from the Health Department. This budget amendment is to budget additional state funding for the breastfeeding peer counseling programs for FY 24-25. This program is designed and funded to advance the unique benefits of the mother-to-mother breastfeeding support, which research has found to increase breastfeeding initiation and duration among women participating in the WIC program. The next one is the Health Department. This budget amendment is to budget additional state funding to continue activities that focus on removing the barriers to accessing vaccine, increasing vaccine confidence, coordinating COVID-19 vaccine services, and expanding the COVID-19 vaccination program. The next one is the solid waste budget. This budget amendment is to appropriate solid waste fund balance to cover the purchase of a replacement landfill compactor due to the loss of the unit in February of 2024. And our final budget amendment, the Rural Operation Assistant Program Fund. This budget amendment is presented to budget available funding from the Rural Operating Assistance Program and adjust the current budget to reflect the funding as approved by the state for FY 2025. No county funds are requested.
All right, that's 8 budget amendments. Any commissioner have a question about any of these? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second please. Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Budget amendments stand approved. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item number 21 is a resolution to direct the expenditure of opioid settlement funds. And I call on our Assistant County Manager, Tia Fuller, at this time. How did I do, ma'am?
To
months in a row.
Great.
I'm
Thank you.
quite proud. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for allowing me to present this. I'm excited actually for this first of many expenditures for the opioid settlement funds. And so in keeping with the National Settlement Agreement, opioid settlement funds may support programs or services that serve persons with opioid use disorder or any co-occurring substance use disorder or mental health condition. If you will remember from last month's presentation, I summarized the community conversations and recommendations from the community, and we're able to identify 4 initial funds to strategies to fund. And so the first one is the naloxone distribution. Naloxone is a safe and effective medication used to reverse the effects of an opioid overdose and is a life-saving drug if administered quickly and appropriately. Expanding access to naloxone through various community settings is a key strategy in reducing overdose deaths. The next strategy is recovery support services, and of course, all this is in your packet. The reason that we are funding recovery support services, that people who use drugs themselves are the primary agents of reducing the harms of their drug use. Support services, when provided in a supportive and non-judgmental manner, empower people who use drugs and assist them in reducing the harms of their drug use. Post-overdose response teams, that's the third strategy that I alluded to during last month's presentation. And a post-overdose response team, or PORT, is a program that allows follow-up with a person who has recently overdosed, typically within 24 to 72 hours, to provide support, education, and connections to needed resources, for example, naloxone. PORT programs are a great opportunity to build relationships with people who use drugs in your community and create connections to a variety of wraparound health and social services. The fourth strategy that I will be proposing or am proposing is the collaborative strategic planning. Collaborative strategic planning allows all people in the community to provide input into developing a plan and facilitate planning that is well matched to the needs of their community. In your packets, you will see a resolution by the County of Nash to direct the expenditure of opioid settlement funds. I won't read the resolution unless you'd like me to, but I do want to go through the expenses. So for the first authorized strategy, this is for the naloxone distribution, I would like the board to authorize $200,000. It's Exhibit A, Strategy 7, $200,000 for the time period starting today, October 7th, and that would run through the end of June 2026, so June 30th, 2026. And this funding is to purchase naloxone and harm reduction supplies for distribution to the community. The providers or the vehicles by which these harm reduction supplies will be provided to the community would be through our Nash County Health Department and through our CARE Coalition, the Coalition for Addiction and Recovery Education. Should I pause for a question or keep going? I was going to go through all 4, but I can stop one at a time if that is the pleasure of the board.
It might be better. Any questions on this particular one?
Just one, did you find out whether or not kids in the school, students, their parents are apprised if they are given naloxone?
They are. There's a report, and the family
Thank
is
you.
involved in that.
Thank you.
Other questions on the first one? Proceed.
Thank you. And so the period, this resolution would authorize from today until June 30th, 2026. The next strategy is recovery support services. This is in Exhibit A, Exhibit A3 strategy, and this is outlined in the memorandum of agreement. We are, I'm requesting $180,000 to be expended from today, October 7th through June 30th, 2027. This is actually a little bit longer because this funding is to support a county-embedded peer support specialist in the Nash County Detention Center. So Nash County Detention Center has a 36-month grant that they are doing MAT, and these peer support specialists would support the work that they're doing in the detention center. And so the term is through 2027, which allows for the period of that grant. And so the provider of this would be the Nash County Detention Center. So the funds would go to support 2 part-time peer support specialists. The third,
Any questions on that
I
item?
apologize.
Like a great idea to make, go ahead now.
The third strategy that I'm proposing is the post-overdose response team. This strategy, I'm asking for $400,000 from today, October 7th to June 30th, 2026. This funding is support the implementation of a post-overdose response team in Nash County, and the provider would be the Nash County Emergency Medical Services. I do want to remind the board that this post-overdose response team is a strategy that Nash County was selected from the OSTAT, Opioid Settlement Technical Assistance Team, to be part of the Opioid Settlement Academy, where they will take our team through the proper development of this post-overdose response team. The consultant says that actually we may not need the $400,000, but to reserve it in case. But if we have staffing in place and a vehicle, which may be the community paramedic vehicle, we may not need that amount, but this was the recommendation to start with this amount, and if we don't need it, it will not be pulled from the opioid settlement funds.
Questions on this item?
that one?
Does this head the direction of additional employees, or are we trying to do it with current employees?
Well, the community paramedic program, I don't want to speak for EMS, I think they have 4 positions that are already funded, and so, but they have vacancies within that program. So it's not additional positions, no, sir.
Okay. I could ask the other questions later. I probably got a few more, but
Okay,
I'm fine. Go ahead.
okay, yes.
Commissioner Aaron.
This rapid response team, I mean, is this a ambulance service or what, I mean?
No, so for post-overdose response, so in the event that a community member overdoses, then this post-overdose response team would come to that person's home, give them education, link them with resources, provide leave behind naloxone, also peer support specialist. So it will be a medical professional, a community paramedic, for example, that would go out and assess that person's general health, but then the peer supports and the resources in the community would be provided to them. So also because transportation is such an issue in our community, it would be resources and medical support that would come out to that person.
So it's pretty much a resource consultant team after the fact?
Yes, so I would say it's a community paramedic with the support of peer support and resources specifically around that person who is utilizing opioids. Does that answer your question?
I'd just say if we see moving forward that due to our current shortages in EMS, we need to designate people to do that.
Yes, sir.
I would expect you to come back to us and let us know that.
Absolutely. And this is the first of
Sure, I
many,
understand.
many resolutions.
Sure.
But yes,
Got it.
if we are ready to lift the program and current staffing is still an issue, of course, that we would bring that back and to get authorization for positions specifically for community paramedic program.
Thank you, ma'am.
And the fourth strategy that I'd like the board to authorize today is the collaborative strategic planning. This is an option A1 strategy. The amount authorized for this strategy will be $50,000 from today, October 7th to June 30th, 2026. And this is to coordinate or contract with a facilitator to lead strategic planning efforts for future opioid settlement projects in collaboration with county partner agencies and community stakeholders. This will strengthen the existing service system for opioid and other substance abuse services to refine the existing level of care that exists in Nash County. So we started with the community conversations. We're streamlining it more to the opioid settlement advisory committee, where we can identify the gaps, and the strategic planning will help us be more prescriptive or detailed as we identify the gaps within resources in the county. So these are the 4 strategies. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Do you feel these 4 items partly or wholly came out of the community meetings that you had and what you heard at those meetings?
Absolutely. I would say wholly.
Wholly.
Well, some of the things.
That was my thought, having attended most of them.
Absolutely. So these were lifted as priorities to the community. And, well, short of the collaborative strategic planning, I think that helps us to have a work group of informed community partners that can, over the course of a few months, help to drill down, identify the gaps. So the collaborative strategic planning piece is one that helps us better focus the funds where they absolutely are needed, and allows for more collaboration amongst community partners. So yes, I would say all of these 4 strategies are in response to the community conversations.
Thank you, ma'am.
But there are more conversations to be had, and so that's why
Gotcha.
we want to fund the strategic planning.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Outlaw?
I'm in support of the funding options, but the thing I'm interested in is recovery. So that doesn't have anything to do with what you're talking about today in terms of funding. But can we get, Mr. Chairman, can we get a committee together and have discussions with some of these churches that you said were willing to take some of these people in and provide beds, and maybe talk to Trillium or who, just get a collaboration of people together and see what the possibilities are to provide some recovery help for these people leaving our detention centers? Because when they leave, some of these people, they can't go back to their home, and they're just in a dire situation. They need somewhere they can go for some period of time to get acclimated back into the community.
Yes, I do want to say for the opioid settlement advisory committee, we do have representation from many area churches on that committee, and recovery is one of the topics. So the strategies right now are option A strategies. Some of the things that are going to take a little bit more planning are option B strategies, which we are not there yet until we complete our collaborative strategic planning. But absolutely.
I just think anything we can do to help in that area will prevent these people from
Housing, yes.
recycling.
Yes. And that will be a topic of our conversation. We have our first advisory council meeting next Friday in actually the conference room.
Thank you.
So more to come.
Thank you for the good work you've done.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Darrington.
Are these requests, these 4 requests within the expected budget for
Absolutely.
first year?
And so as, I thank you for that question. So when you break down, not that we have to spend the same every year, but to make things sustainable, it makes sense. And so we actually have about $700,000 each year until 2038. These 4 strategies equals $830,000, but this is over, it's until this year, next year, even into 2027. And so this does not extend beyond the available $700,000. We have $700,000 this year, and what I'm requesting is funding Narcan, post-overdose response team, recovery support, and collaborative strategic planning for this year, 2024, 2025, and even into 2026. And so we are well within our budget, our annual budget, if we want to consider it that way. We don't have to look at it as annual budget, but we are well within the 700,000 each year.
I think you have already, we've been 1 year already, so you really have 700,000 if you
Yeah.
want to look at it that way.
And our, currently, what, I'm looking here, like my presentations, we currently have $2.5 million that we've already received.
Correct.
So we're overdue for some spending.
Yep.
And so the resolution is in your packet, and I would request that you approve it.
Okay. Any other questions? Entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Wilkins, Commissioner Outlaw, Commissioner Belfield.
I second.
Yeah, I offer the motion to approve it.
Okay, excuse me. Motion by Mr. Belfield, a second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? I'll just say I'm very pleased to get to this point. Thank you for your hard work on this. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by like. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is item number 22, which is board appointments, and you're already here, so please
I
proceed,
am
ma'am.
here. Thank you. So we have one board to have an appointment for, and so the Consolidated Human Services Board, Bill Hill is here in case he wants to add something, but please consider the new appointment of Ms. Mary H. Jones to the Consolidated Human Services Board. Ms. Jones's application is included in your board packet for review. She is eligible, willing, and recommended for appointment. If approved, her 4-year term will run through April 30th, 2028.
If I could, I had a question from a commissioner about this appointment, and I'd like to ask Mr. Hill to come up and tell how it come about, if you would, sir, because I didn't know, I couldn't answer the commissioner's question when I was asked about it.
First of all, I apologize for leaving my jacket at home.
You'll be quite all right, sir.
Yeah, could I borrow yours?
Here's the list of.
This appointment, we met, probably met her sometime back, but at the Community Health Assessment meeting in the Ag Center, we were able to see that we had a lot of volunteers, and she expressed a lot of interest in what was going on at the health department. From there, we had some discussion with any community involvements or health department involvements that come along, she would certainly be interested in. And from there, we started talking about the Human Services Board, and she filled out an application. And I have talked with Dr. Johnson, chairman of the board, and he feels very comfortable about what I've told him I know from the application with Ms. Jones. Now, we do have, and we were talking about this at least by email correspondence last week, about a nurse replacement to come along very soon, hopefully. We don't have the application filled out. She's given this just a little more thought, but I believe we've got a very strong nurse application or applicant who will replace Ms. Thurman. And I believe we have Ms. Thurman's endorsement on this particular nurse, too. So having said all that, she's expressed a lot of interest. Ms. Jones has been a principal in 3 different schools, to my knowledge, and is currently working with Henrietta's group.
Downey's Partnership.
Yeah,
for
the
Children.
Downey's Partnership. So I think she would be a valuable participant and member of this Human Services Board.
Would this be a public member? Is that what it is?
Consumer-type public member.
Okay, all right. And I think to carry it a little further, and I discussed this with the manager a little bit, if
Yes.
you want to go ahead and explain
Sure.
what we wish to do.
Yes, so on this board, the Consolidated Human Services Board, we actually have a number of appointments coming available here pretty soon. So I did have a discussion with Ms. Tia Fula about sending a periodic email out to board members, letting you know what board appointments are coming up, sharing as much information as she can with you about existing board members, if it's something like the planning board, what districts are covered, where we have some vacancies and things like that, so that you all can start kind of thinking a couple of months ahead about those appointments that are upcoming and who it is that you might want to reach out to in your community to serve. So we will be doing more communication moving forward about board appointments.
And particularly those on your board, Bill, because you got so many of them that have got to be in a certain slot. Because at the time all this happened, it's unfortunate that a lot of them are going to be rolling off in a pretty short window without any terms that you can extend it to, so.
We're working on
Let's
that
get
very
started.
thing, as you know, Mr. Chairman, with
Right.
the ones in exhausted terms already.
Right.
So we are working on that, and we've made the board members aware at the last meeting. We have our next board meeting, as Mr. Cole knows, the third Thursday in October, and we'll be discussing that again.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this appointment? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Bellfield, is there a second to that motion?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Thank you, ma'am.
I do want to just add.
Sure.
In your board packet and previous months, so I have brought to this board to request because they were having a hard time filling their vacancies or they had no one to recommend. So if you do have or know anyone in the disciplines of social work, consumer psychiatrist, and registered nurse, these are all positions that are available.
You say those one more time?
Yes, sir. And it's in the
It's in the packet?
information sheet. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
Social worker, consumer, psychiatrist, and registered nurse. Also, it might have been May or June, I also made the request to the board if you are aware of anyone who would fill those disciplines.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am.
Happy to accept those applications.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 23, which is the public comment policy, and I'm going to ask the attorney if he would. This, as you recall, is an item that I asked for last month to update, and really not update, but to make it clear about how you had to present for public comment policy, and I think the attorney has researched our public comment policy from start to present time and has proposed something, and the board is certainly at liberty this morning to tweak it any way we see fit. And I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Gaynor, at this time.
Okay, certainly. I was asked by you guys at the last meeting to make a proposition for a new or some revisions to the existing public comment policy, and I did a little bit of research on where the public comment policy stood. There was a policy that was enacted in 2005 that I modeled this policy off of. There was also a policy that was revised in 2012, which you have a copy of in your packet. The statute has some requirements for public comment, which I can go over with if you'd like for me to. This policy that's presented to you is compliant with the statute. It is more, it's not more restrictive than the statute, but does incorporate all the requirements that are included in the statute. But the statute does authorize the board to make certain rules and regulations with regard to public comment in the spirit of efficiency and decorum as well, and those are included in here. So I will take any questions. The main change to this policy from the 2005 policy is that number 5 was added to make sure that the public comments are made in person and that the board is not making decisions on which letters or written communications are presented, because that is not the purpose of the public comment. It is for anyone to be able to make a public comment to the board.
And during this process, because I've been asked a couple of times, I would like to clear up the procedure I've been using, whereas I'll allow people to speak that haven't signed up previously. If the board wishes for me not to do that, I'm certainly willing to stop that, but I want to clear that up as well, and I can follow strictly by what the policy says. You had a public comment this morning. I'd certainly like for you to take into consideration in deliberating on this. been one of the two longest members of the board, I'll tell you, Mr. Belfield, when we started this in 2005, we did have a policy, and I had to do a lot of research with some of the things that Mike put in here, particularly about the number of times and the number of times you could speak on something. I think we revised that during the, one of our economic development ventures that we were on, and opened it up somewhat so you could speak more frequently. It's proposed to be back in here because I guess you used 2005 as your base. It does not have to be there. It's the pleasure of the board. So with that said, I hope we've looked at it, and let's revise anything you want revised from what you see here today, and I'll open up for any comments from board members. Commissioner Wilkins, you looked at me like you have something to say.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had taken issue with number 1 and number 8, and I'll begin with number 1, where it says a total time of 15 minutes shall be set aside for public comment on the agenda. That would only allow, with the 3-minute speaking limit, that would only allow 5 citizens to speak a time at the meeting, and I just do not believe that is right. I don't believe it's fair. So I'm in disagreement with the 15 minutes. And as far as the chairman may designate a spokesperson for the group of persons supporting or opposing the same position, I disagree with that as well. If there is a group, over the years, not just here, but in all public meetings I've gone to, if the group wants to designate a speaker, I'm good with that. But for the chairman, you know, I mean, each one of them may have a burning desire and have something to say that their spokesperson may not speak on, and so I'm against that. So those two things, the 15-minute time limit period for public comment, I'm against, and the chairman indicating one person for the group. And as far as number 8, persons who regularly desire to speak during public comment may be scheduled at the end of the public comment agenda time. I'm fine with that. But individuals are limited to no more than 2 appearances in 1 quarter. I mean, this is the only way I can say this. We're not in elementary school, we're not in junior high. And to limit someone 2 appearances per quarter to speak, and that they can't speak on the same topic more than twice every 6 months, who's going to keep track of that? If they have a burning desire, something could have changed within that 6 months. If they speak 1 month, they speak the next month, something could have changed and they need to come back and speak. I am against limiting people from speaking, putting a limit on how long they can speak. And those 2 are the sticking points for me.
Thank you,
I cannot support.
Commissioner Leggett.
Yes, sir. I also disagree with limiting total public comment time to 15 minutes. I think that is too short. For example, if someone has taken off work to come and speak, and 6 others sign up before them, then they won't be selected to speak, and they would have to take off work to come again. You know, as it is, there's a lot of people that do not get to speak at our meetings because our meetings are held during the daytime when most people are working. And also, I think that it should be made clear for citizens who are unable to attend the meetings in person that they may send a letter or email to our county offices, and that a copy of that correspondence will be provided to the commissioners and/or appropriate staff as requested in the letter. I think that needs to be part of our policy, that those correspondences are shared with us. Like, for example, if you're not going to accept emails to be read, then it needs to be made clear if an email is sent to the county, then it's shared with us.
Okay. All right. Other comments? Mr. Outlaw?
I prefer, we had 3 to 5 minutes. With 3 minutes, and at 4 minutes, you get notification. And that was put in place way back, but I don't think we should go back to 3 minutes. I think that's worked very well for us. I don't think it's been a problem. I don't think we should limit to 15 minutes. I think we should hear what the people have got to say. And on that note, if I don't know, Chairman, if it's a good thing to continue to allow people to just, if they didn't sign up to speak, because that seems to be counter to what we're trying to do here. If you say I can't speak, but I can just walk up and speak, then, it kind of defeats the purpose of that. But number 1 and number 8, I would have some issues with both of those.
Okay. Along the same lines as what Commissioner Wilkins spelled out.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Arrington?
I'll also agree. Number 1, I think that should really be 30 minutes, even though we have a meeting to complete, that 30 minutes should be the maximum. And I'm for 3 to 5 minutes as far as allowing speakers to speak. And also, I would ask the chairman, ask the group to designate a spokesperson when you have more than one. And when I go down to number 7, I like our old policy that says, speaker shall address the entire board without reference to individual members. And speakers shall also conform to reasonable standards of courtesy and civility when addressing the commissioners. The one that we added in that place said that no impediment or slanderous remarks are allowed. Speakers shall maintain order and decorum in their remarks, and speakers are not allowed to conduct themselves in boisterous or rude manner. I think our old policy addressed that best. And number 8, I am not in agreement with limiting people how often they decide to come to address the board. I guess I like an open policy when it comes to coming to address the board.
Okay. Any other comment? I think I agree with basically everything everybody said. The current chair certainly does not want to designate a spokesman for a group. We haven't had an issue with time limits at all. We can adjust this if it becomes an issue moving forward. I would prefer we really don't put a time limit on it, because you really don't want to stop anybody from talking. I like the 3 to 5 minutes that you suggested. I think that gives us some authority for cutting it off if somebody continuously comes and wants to talk 15, 20 minutes. We have some mechanism there to do that. And then I'm certainly fine with eliminating the appearance numbers and subject matter. That's fixing a problem that we really don't have, I think, so I'm fine with doing away with that. So, with so many comments, do you want to have Mike work on it again and bring it back to us on basis of what he's heard and then approve it at our next meeting? Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, and I think the comment that Commissioner Leggett made about the written correspondence.
Yes.
I think just providing that to the board would be a good idea, too. I would support that.
Oh, by all means, yes, sure.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, ma'am.
And when Mr. Gaynor does that, if we could get it rather than the Wednesday before the meeting, if we could get it, a little bit prior to that, so we have time to review it in case we want to suggest changes. Maybe he can email everyone and say what changes are suggested or something before we get to the meeting.
We'll ask him to do it in the next 2 weeks, and I would ask that you got any additional change, you direct it to the manager's office. Okay,
Will do.
Let her formulate those. Okay? All right. I got Mr. Belfield next, Mr. Arrington, then you go ahead, sir. Mr. Belfield.
Well, I think there ought to be a limit, and the limit would kind of help people in preparing what they want to present to the board of public comment. Because if it's not, it made me think while we were sitting here discussing it about, I've been to some funerals and they have on a program a limit of 2 minutes.
Okay.
Those that had prepared what they were going to say stayed within that. But those that went up there talking off the top of their head, just saying and sometimes repeating themselves, went 5, 6, and 7 minutes. And it prolonged the situation of public comments about the person. And I think if there's a limit here, they will do some preparation before they come to speak before the board in public comments.
I don't think we're proposing to do away with that limit per person. I think we're going to say.
No, I think you were talking about the number of times a person can come.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, everybody has agreed, I think, that we won't
And if they prepare their statements, it won't be up here that long.
Sure, okay, I got you. Commissioner Harrington.
I think it's important that we keep number 7 of our old policy. Speaker shall address the entire board without reference to individual members. That need to be plain and clear.
It does. And the second sentence as well. Speaker shall conform to reasonable standards of courtesy and be civil in addressing committee. You got a good feel?
I've got y'all's recommendations. I will come up with something and get it out quickly, and so give everybody a chance to review it and make comments on it.
Okay, and if they'll comment to the manager, and copy the attorney on it when you comment to the manager.
Oh, just make just one more.
Yes, sir.
The number 7, you know, which is part of that old, the number 7 in our new version, I believe the only part of that one, I'm for striking that whole one out, except the last sentence. If a speaker violates any of these rules, they may be asked to end their remarks.
Right, and that was initially when I put this together, I spoke with the chairman just briefly on it, and I believe that was broader, which would allow the chairman the authority to ask somebody to end their remarks if necessary. And so I thought that covered number 7. But I will certainly take all these suggestions into account. This policy that's presented to you is somewhat follows the statute. The other policy this can be adjusted to take into account y'all's suggestions.
All right.
All right.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
I was just going to ask, the assistant county clerk brings in the sign-up sheet right at 9 o'clock. And we do I know if people want to speak, they should be here on time and signed up. But is there any way we could she can bring it in after, say, the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer, so that just in case someone gets hung up outside or in traffic? And that's just a little, if the majority doesn't want that.
Well, let's answer that question. The way I've been handling it, I think Commissioner Outlaw said you didn't prefer to do it that way.
My point was, Mr. Chairman, that if we were talking about limiting people, then that would open it up. There would be no limit.
Right.
But I mean, to Commissioner Wilkins' point, there would certainly be no problem with, once the session starts, for the clerk to bring it up and it could be passed down to you, I mean.
Well, it's going to be a little disruptive for me once I get going. I don't like to be, I'll do anything the board has to do as long as I'm sitting here.
I mean, has it been a problem?
If you're going to continue
Has
to
anybody been
open
out
it
there?
up.
I didn't think so.
I'm going to do what y'all tell me you want.
I would say, that I would suggest, let's not try to put too much in the policy, so that we won't have to change it going forward. I mean, if we put it in the policy and it's there and we determine that it is disruptive or whatever, I can put a provision that allows the chairman the discretion to, some discretion within the policy, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
My
And the
point
way,
is-
and the way it is now, if he's going to continue, I would like him to continue to do it now. And just like when he says, is there anyone that didn't sign up that would like to speak? If we're all in agreement to
Or
that.
that's any chairman moving forward can do that. And I do that, trying to make this board look friendly to our citizens, really. Because some places you go, they just extremely hard-nosed over that.
But I just want to say one thing about that.
Yes, sir.
One of the reasons you have the sign-up sheet is that then you're on a schedule of how many people that actually going to talk.
Yes.
And then you can also schedule, you can understand by how much time it's going to consume. And the other thing about when you open it up and say, anybody else got something to say? I might have been standing up there at the podium and explaining something, and all of a sudden you say, oh, I need to get up and support that. So now I come in and start supporting something that I had no intention of standing up there at the podium. So I'm still with signing up the sheet, the sign-up sheet, give us structure, and that's why we have it.
Okay.
If you ever get into a very contentious issue that brings in a lot of people, then you're going to wish you had a sign-up sheet.
Right.
And again, that is the point that the statute has in it specifically related to a group representative being appointed. And so that is verbatim from the statute that allows that to prevent, 30 people speaking on one subject. And again, I appreciate your concern that somebody might be silenced, and that's certainly not the purpose of the policy or the board.
But to the point someone made, it might have been Marvin that just said it, that the clerk could certainly make the chairman aware if it was allowed for in the procedures, that if someone came up and it was before the 9 o'clock time, then there could be made exception for that person.
Right. And I'll do that in the policy, in the draft at least.
And the clerk could notify the chairman of that.
I think I'm confused, but I'll wait to see the policy and see what it says when we get it back. I understand that the sign-up sheet has a reason. And of course, if it was a real controversial item and there's going to be a lot of people speaking, I probably wouldn't make that statement. Is it right to do it one meeting, not do it the next meeting? I understand that, but
Well, it's kind of like reading an email and not reading an email. You got to have some procedure.
yeah. Yes, sir.
I guess, you usually make the statement that we have a sign-up sheet.
Yes, sir.
And if anybody missed signing the sign-up sheet, please do it now.
Right.
Before you start. Otherwise, that's uncovered.
Oh, that's a good way of handling it.
Right.
An excellent way of handling it. If you didn't realize that, let the clerk know now that you want, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. When you first start, you say, we had a sign-up sheet, and if everybody had an opportunity to sign up sheet, if you didn't, you can do it just before you start, if they didn't realize that. But not to open it up after everybody else done did their talking. He said, anybody else got it?
Got you. I'll be waiting for your revised policy.
I will send it out quickly.
All right, thank you. Okay, that was item number 23. We are now on item 24, which is commissioner comments, and I'll open up to any commissioner that wishes to bring any item to the board at this time. Commissioners? Commissioner Leggett?
Okay. First and foremost, just want to start by saying that my thoughts and prayers are with the folks that have been affected by the recent hurricane. There's been a lot of local resources gone out, and I just applaud them for all their work that they've done. I know the work comes from the heart. I think all of us from the east, we've been there with these hurricanes, and that's why, it is just so personal to want to help. So thoughts and prayers with them, and very proud of all the resources and efforts that have gone out. Next, I'd like to get an update when available on the status of the UDO rewrite. There was a number of changes needed as a result of our land use plan adoption in November of 2022. And as I understand that these rewrites have not been completed, so I'd just like to get an update when available on that process. And my last comment, as I've mentioned in my comments for the past several meetings, it is a priority to fill the Emergency Services Director position that is currently vacant. This is not just a concern from me, but it's a concern from the citizens that I represent. There's a lot of firemen, volunteers that I interact with on a regular basis, and so I hear this a lot. At our last Board of Commissioners meeting, we heard a presentation from EMS about the current state of operations there. We were really pleased to hear positive news from them with improved staffing numbers and stable response time, so this was good. Aside from this, there appears to be no action being taken to recruit and hire that department head back. The Emergency Services Department has functioned well in its current setup of having a director and possibly an assistant director for almost 48 years, 38 to be exact. Within the last couple of weeks, there was a special called meeting of the Nash County Fire Chiefs Association to discuss this issue. I understand that our county manager did attend and, or may have attended, where the fire chiefs shared their experiences and feedback. Also, 13 out of the 15 fire chiefs and departments favored maintaining the current emergency services director setup here in the county. I ask that we support the county volunteer firemen and emergency services workers by filling the vacant emergency services director position to provide the necessary leadership here. We have great division management staff in place now, but there needs to be that department head in place that does the strategic work for the entire emergency service areas to keep Nash County moving into the future on a strong and stable footing, adapting to Nash County's needs. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Other comments from Commissioner? Mr. Belfield, I think you were speaking next.
First, I would like to say that I think it's good that we have started looking at affordable housing, and I see that being a positive project to get to begin to work on. The next thing I would say is about share buildings, that we would take a look at the northwestern part of Nash County, the Whitaker's Industrial Park, and I believe that we established another one also in the northwestern part of Nash County. If not, then I would love to see us do that and kind of spread the county out rather than concentrating it all in one area of the county. And those are my comments, and I hope we take a look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield. Mr. Wilkins.
I just wanted to, I have a bit of good news, and I wanted to make sure the public knew. I had the pleasure and honor of being sworn in last Thursday to the Nash Healthcare Systems Board of Commissioners, and I just can't tell you how honored and humbled I was, and I really want to thank Chairman Davis for his support and my fellow commissioners, as well as the Nash Healthcare System County Board of Commissioners. So I thank you all.
Yes, ma'am. So you'll be a great member.
Going to do my best.
I
Mr. Outlaw.
got one thing I wanted to mention, and I don't want this to sound political because I'm not a political person. I wish I was better at it, but I'm not. But I've had some communications, and I thank Commissioner Leggett for her comments about what's going on in the western part of the state. We've got a contingent of people in the western part of the state. And those people are probably, from the information I'm getting back, working 16 hours plus every day. No showers, nothing. They just are out there giving their all, trying to help western North Carolina recover. And I went through the flood here in 1999, and it was terrible. My mother was flooded out. A lot of people were. It was just a very devastating event. I stood on the 64 overpass bridge looking down at Lowe's, and that whole place was just completely flooded. And I don't want this to sound like it wasn't a significant event, but what's going on in western North Carolina is a most significant event in my lifetime. There are just already hundreds of people dead. There are hundreds of people that haven't been found. They've got a gentleman up there with our sheriff's office contingent that's got a cadaver dog, and they're sniffing out people that are buried under mud. It's just a terrible event that they've got to experience, and I personally would like the names of all those people from Nash County, including from the fire departments and from the Nashville Police Department, et cetera, anybody else from Nash County that's up there dealing with this situation, because I'm going to personally reach out and thank those people for what they're doing. And I trust that some of the other commissioners would do the same thing if you haven't done it already, because they are living through something that I just can't even hardly imagine what's going on up there. So God bless our people. God bless our sheriff, who's up there leading these people. And I just pray that they will come home safe and that they will not be emotionally damaged by what's going on up there now. And I feel like they will be.
I believe they're home.
They are, that's
I got a text
great.
from the sheriff last night
That's
that he
great.
was home.
That's great.
Good.
We may want to do something to recognize that group that went above and beyond to support the western part of the state. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Mr.
through
Allen.
my,
Let me come on down the line, then I'll come back to you.
okay.
Commissioner Darrington?
Yeah. My same sentiments as far as the western part of our state, and I know that, yes, we have sent some people up there to help. Right here locally, well, I call Bobby Liverman, who's our highway engineer, and I have a problem with, I know that day they were sending, I think I called around about the same day that aftermath, and they were sending some trucks and help up that way. But I called them about M.B. Hubbard Elementary School, that we have a flooding problem there on a Red Oak Brattleboro Road. I sent him some pictures, and it floods all the way up to the main entrance door. And he said that he would send somebody over to look at it when he gets time, and he would try to see what possibly could happen to try to improve that situation, because every time it rains, it floods, and the whole parking lot in front of the building, and we can't get any drainage out of there. So he said he's going to look at that. We'll get back with you if we get any progress.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cone?
Just to talk about the western part of the state, my son-in-law's up there working now. He said, he told my daughter this morning that what you see on TV is nothing like what it really is if you're there. It's just terrible, and it would be years before, everything was built back, and years probably before the power grids up the mountains and everywhere. So it's just really bad, and we don't realize it without being there, so we need to keep them in our prayers. And the only other comment I had, and Sue already, I had wrote down here, that we updated the land development plan, and we were going to move on to the UDO, and it's never happened. So that's something we need to work on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Belfield?
Oh, I was just going to say that my church that I'm a member of, we have collected supplies, and they will be delivered to the western part of the state this week. And quite a bit. It's amazing when we have disasters how people come forward and go to work regardless of their political affiliation or their beliefs or whatever, but they believe in helping people. And I have observed it not just here in this community, but also across, watching TV across the United States.
Thank you, sir. Others? I'll be very brief. I certainly want to echo everything that's been said about what is going on in the western part of the state. And I agree 100%. We had a very significant storm in '99, and we all remember it very well. It got so bad that our company had to just only rebuild those structures that we had built previously because there was just so much to do. But when you really look at it, what we dealt with, we did have something that could be rebuilt for the most part. What they're dealing with up there, there's really nothing left in many, many cases, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's buildings. And I've spent, our family has always spent quite a bit of time visiting the mountains, and I've seen so many spots that we enjoyed going to that probably just aren't there anymore. I just can't imagine, but as Commissioner Outlaw said, we really need to thank each and every one from Nash County, particularly our own employees that, but not only our own employees, but significantly our own employees that did go up and are still up there doing what they know to do and what they're experts at doing. I generally give a housing update. I'm going to be very brief in that. The last month, we did have $4 million worth of commercial permits issued in our permit department. We had 64 new home permits issued. 56 of those were stick-built homes. 8 of those were modular homes, and they were pulled by 20 different builders, and they were scattered pretty much throughout the county, with the exception of Mr. Arrington's district. And as you saw today, Hope is on the way, sir. And some of the permits would be in your area as well. But with that said, any other comment the Commissioner likes to make before I turn it over to the manager? Madam Manager?
I will be very brief. Tomorrow morning, we have at 9:30 our commemorative courtyard induction ceremony in front of this building for Barbara Sasser and Judge Sumner. So please join us tomorrow morning. And then just a reminder that our economic development team will be hosting the reentry simulation at Nash Community College on October the 29th, and we will send the registration link out to the board members again for that. And the last thing was, I just wanted to say, we were reached out to from the Ag Advisory Board to do a farmland preservation presentation to you all today, and I apologize that that did not get on the agenda, but we will bring that to you in the November meeting. So you'll be able to learn more about what other counties are doing and what we could possibly consider here in Nash County for a farmland preservation program. And that is all I have.
Okay. Any other comments before I ask for a closed session? All right, I do have item number 26, which is a closed session. The closed session is designated to be for economic development and attorney-client privilege. Anything I need to say more about what you're going to be doing, Mike, or are we covered by that statement?
Today, we're covered by that statement.
By that statement, okay. All right, so what I'll do is entertain a motion to go into closed session this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? I do understand we have lunch in the back. We'll pause for about 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll go into closed session. Any action to be taken after closed session, to your knowledge, sir?
I do not believe that we are going to have to take action at this point.
The personnel, okay, you don't think we have any action to take?
Is the personnel matter on the closed session agenda?
I'm not sure. We were happy to actually take,
There is a personnel matter on the closed session agenda, I believe, that we may have to take action on.
okay. All right, so we may or may not have action to take for those reporters in the room. It certainly, you know, it'll be recorded, or you're welcome to make yourself at home, or whatever you so desire. But with that said, I have a motion on the floor and a second to go into closed session. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, and we will convene in closed session now for about a 15-minute break. I call the regular meeting for the Nash County Board of Commissioners for October the 7th back to order at this time. During closed session, Commissioner Arrington was given an excused leave of absence to attend a doctor's appointment that was pre-scheduled, therefore he left during the closed session. During closed session, there were numerous items discussed along economic development lines as well as attorney-client privilege. No lawsuits were discussed today in closed session. Out of those, there's one item that needs to have action taken in public session, and it was concerning a reclassification of an existing position in the pay scale for Nash County. And at this time, I'd entertain a motion to present to the public what that reclassification is in the form of a motion, and I believe Commissioner Outlaw is prepared to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we take the Emergency Services Director position, which is a grade 127, and reclassify it to an Emergency Management Director, which would be a grade 124. We fill that position with Trip Bunn, existing Assistant Director of Emergency Management, or new title, Emergency Management Deputy Director, grade 121, would be vacant to Mr. Bunn to fill. So you would have Mr. Trip Bunn as the Emergency Management Director, and the Emergency Management Deputy Director would be filled by Mr. Bunn.
Mr. Chair?
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
Mr. Chair, I second that motion.
All right, have a motion now, have a second. The floor is open for questions or discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign?
Aye.
I think I will go back and do a show of hands, which I should have done to start with. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by a show of hands. Raising your hand. Any opposed by a show of hands? Okay, that motion carries on a 4-2 vote.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I did not see Commissioner Cone raise his hand either way.
I abstain from that.
Robert Rules of Order, if a commissioner does not show he is in the affirmative on the vote, as I understand it, I would ask the attorney to make a ruling on that if you so desire for me to, Commissioner Wilkins.
No, no need. I just wanted the public or the citizens to know. I want it recorded that he did not take a vote on that.
Okay. All right, so motion carries on a 4-2
Mr.
vote.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if you don't vote, I thought I read somewhere, it's counted as a yes.
That's what I just did, Mr. Belfield.
Oh, well, I don't hear that well.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Okay,
I didn't hear you say it.
okay.
I knew you were talking, but I didn't pick it up.
You're correct in what you said, and the motion carried on a 4-2 vote.
Yeah,
Okay, I entertain a motion at this time to close the regular session for the Nash County Board of Commissioners for October the 7th.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. We stand adjourned. Thank you all for your long service today, and I hope the actions we took will be for the betterment of Nash County. Thank you all.